95%. Chapter 461 Then create all kinds of conflicts and push the major races to fight. The immortal tomb guardsmen of the temple have cultivated a killing machine. After hearing Ji Yangju's words, a handsome man with wings on his back suddenly raised his head and asked inexplicably, "You said this. Could it be that you want us to join forces to eradicate him first?" This person, Hua Yin, is the divine descendant of the angel clan's Tiansheng Palace. He is definitely the leader among the many divine children. If you don't have any objections, my suggestion is to get rid of him as soon as possible. After hearing Hua Yin's inquiry, Ji Yangju nodded. This person eliminated 3 great descendants in just a few days. He is obviously targeting us. If we don't unite and eliminate this guy first, I'm afraid this person will be a major hidden danger when he appears in the temple next. As the divine child of the Ji family, he had fought against both Jun Aofeng and Yi Tian, and their fighting power was not much weaker than his. Even if it means becoming a divine descendant, he is a person who cut off a wisp of his soul from the integrated union and is from the lower realm. The methods he can use are extremely limited, but he is still much stronger than the demigods from the lower realm. But even so, several people were killed one after another. This shows how powerful this native named Xiao Chen is. Haha, these are just your guesses. How can you prove that he is targeting the goddess? As soon as Ji Yangju finished speaking, Hua Yin sneered mercilessly. The others also looked indifferent and sneered when they heard this, obviously not interested in what Ji Yangju said. A group of them, some are in the central region, some are in the southern region, some are in the northern region, and some are in the western region. Now, the temples established by the descendants of the previous generation are just gathered together, and their true bodies are separated by hundreds of millions of miles. Let them come all the way to surround and suppress a strong indigenous man. This is not just looking for something to do. Not to mention, they are all competitors, and some of them even have conflicts. Who would be willing to do such a thing? Do not forget, we are the descendants of the gods. He came to invade the Kanglan realm and cause catastrophe, causing killings to weaken the seal of this world. For the creatures in this world, we are enemies. If we don't kill them now, it will be too late for them to be defeated one by one in the future. Hearing Hua Yin's ridicule, Ji Yangju looked gloomy and said in a low voice, "A bunch of idiots. It's really none of my business and I just care about it. These people will not know how serious the situation is until someone holds a gun in front of them. Come on, it's just that you are in the Eastern Domain now, with Divine Child and Divine Maiden beside you. I'm worried that I will become the next target and just want to drag us into the water together. Although we are intruders, we are not easy to mess with. As long as the interests of the other party are not endangered, this person will not come to trouble us. You can find a few other people for the mess over at Eastern Domain." Said. Hua Yin pointed at several figures. They are Dragon Son Ao Chengthan from the Kanglong clan, Fengji Feng Jichang from the Phoenix clan, and Divine Child Peng Chen Kun from the Kunpeng clan. These people, like Ji Yangju, are all divine descendants in the Eastern Domain. Hear Hua Yin's words. Ao Chengthan, Feng Jichang, He Peng and Chen Kun all frowned slightly. As the beast race divine child, they have no favorable impressions of humans. If you want them to deal with that mysterious indigenous strongman, unless there are irresistible benefits, it's better not to think about it. We don't have that spare time. When the thought came to an end, now Chengthan refused directly, glanced at everyone and then continued. Now that everyone is gathered together, plus there is an accident. Now we can only start planning in advance. Everyone present should have no objections, right? After hearing these 2 words from Ao Chengthan, the eyes of several people present froze. He didn't open his mouth to refute, but nodded slightly. There is a great formation of heaven and earth set up by the Tao Seal God in the sky above Kanglan realm, which makes many powerful divine king in Dongling Star domain feel helpless. Fortunately, after some research, many divine kings discovered that this great formation was not invulnerable, and that the formation would be in an unstable state every 128,000 years. This is also the key to them breaking through the formation. But even so, they still couldn't forcefully break through the formation, so they could only pay a huge price and send the remaining souls of the true God realm experts into Kanglan realm, avoiding the induction of the formation. Then the people in the lower world of the integrated union avoided the perception of opening heaven to find the inheritance of the Daoyan God Lord, or caused killings to create resentment between heaven and earth. Thereby using the blood and resentment of all living beings to corrode and weaken this great formation, allowing the 18 divine kings from the outside world to break the formation. This is the origin of the god descendants and their ultimate goal. Since you don't have any objections, let's create all kinds of conflicts and push the major races to fight. After everyone acquiesced, Ao Cheng then said again. A fierce murderous intention also filled the hall. All living beings are chess pieces, and they are the chess players. The previous generation of divine descendants failed to completely corrode this formation, but were instead wiped out by the natives of Kanglan realm. This time, they must not make the same mistakes again and waste this precious second chance. After the words fell, Ao Chengthin and others did not stay any longer, and the projections disappeared in the Divine Advent Hall. Only Ji Yangju looked very gloomy. A bunch of short-sighted idiots. After a moment of silence, Ji Yangju cursed angrily. He had a strong premonition. If this mysterious native is not eliminated, there will definitely be variables in this catastrophe. They are likely to end up falling on the natives of Kanglan realm like the previous generation. However, no matter how unwilling Ji Mengju was, he alone would not dare to provoke Xiao Chen. So after snorting coldly, he could only leave the Divine Advent Hall. Return to Huang Guji's house. They are ready to call upon the power of the Araguheim family to cause a bloody storm in the eastern domain. His eyes returned to the ancient ruins of the god's tomb. As Xiao Chen got closer to the Chaos Monument, the pressure permeating the void became more terrifying. After a busy day, I came to my restaurant to inspect. Classmate Nolan was very excited and quickly served me a delicious dish. Halfway through the meal, I felt something was wrong. She had actually drugged me. That kind of terrifying pressure. It made him feel that every time he moved forward, his bones and flesh would be squeezed out. And he was still nearly 1,000 feet away from the Chaos Monument. Boom. After Xiao Chen finally stepped within 1,000 feet, the entire ancient tomb starry sky emitted an ear-splitting roar. An extremely terrifying force hit Xiao Chen directly. Let him be blown away like a doll. What a terrifying wall of divine power, I can't bear it. Just a momentary touch. Xiao Chen felt as if all the bones in his body were about to shatter. He raised his head and stared at the Chaos Monument. After a moment of silence, Xiao Chen did not choose to move on, but chose to leave the tomb of God's ancient ruins. Such terrifying pressure, with his current level of cultivation, forcing his way in is just looking for death. No doubt, within 1,000 feet of the Chaos Monument, only those who have reached the level of the Emperor can withstand that kind of pressure. That is to say, if you want to obtain the inheritance of the Lord of the God's tomb, you must have the lowest cultivation level of the Emperor realm. Husband, in the wing room, seeing the secret key of the tomb of gods and ancient ruins blooming with dazzling light, Xiao Chen's figure reappeared in front of him. This surprised Lu Ruoxian and others. Obviously not expecting it. Xiao Chen came out of the ancient ruins of the god's tomb so quickly. Ladies, I want you to help me break through to the Emperor realm. Xiao Chen didn't explain much after he came out. After saying something in a low voice, he rushed towards Lu Ruoxian and others. This made the girls couldn't help but exclaim, and then they fell into Xiao Chen's breakthrough. 96%. Chapter 462. Catastrophe swept through the Kanglan realm, and his cultivation level broke through to the Emperor realm. As Xiao Chen retreated and broke through to the Emperor realm, a catastrophe also occurred in the Kanglan realm. Eastern Domain. First, Dragon Race and the Phoenix Clan were at odds with each other, and they took the lead in starting a fight and triggering a wave of beasts. Later, the Kunpeng clan intervened, causing the conflict to intensify sharply and directly evolved into a war between the three clans. And the Ji family's divine child. He actually wanted to take advantage of several beast races to fight and steal the beast race treasure from behind. As a result, he was accidentally discovered and got involved in the fight. So far, the Eastern Domain has evolved from the original beast race war into a melee between beast race and humans. And under the leadership of the Ji family, the fighting swept through most of the Eastern Domain in just 2 days. Even in this melee, the Heavenly Demon clan's restricted area, which was originally sealed, was opened somehow. Sealed for thousands of years. The Heavenly Demon clan has great hatred for the human race. After coming out, they took cruel revenge, and the 7 realms of the Eastern Domain were completely plunged into chaos. Countless creatures died tragically in the fighting, and the world was filled with great resentment. Only some of the more powerful forces can remain stable in this kind of fighting. It's not just Eastern Domain. There are also fights in other areas. Northern Territory. There are many demons who have been hiding for a long time, and they are looting some righteous forces. The forces led by Taishu Temple had to fight back, and finally set off a terrifying demon-slaying operation in the Northern Territory. Zongyu. As the ancient demons suddenly awakened deep underground in the Abyss world, shocking changes also occurred in the Abyss world. Evil demon race divine child Yugen. With extremely tough methods and terrifying strength, he crushed many demon kings in the Abyss world and became the new generation of Abyss Lord in the Abyss world. After, Yu Xuan used a special secret method to sacrifice some low-level demons, and after improving the strength of many demon kings, he led Carlos and others to break through the Abyss barrier. In the name of revenge, a fight began between the Angel clan and the Holy God clan. These major races originally had grudges, and the fighting became uncontrollable as soon as the fighting broke out. In just 2 days, it swept through most of the central territory. That kind of brutality, compared to the last time the Angel clan and the Holy God clan joined forces to invade the Abyss world and destroy the evil demon race. It will be even more tragic. Something like that. There are also southern continent and western region, between different races and different forces. They started fighting for no apparent reason, and some of the reasons were even more ridiculous. If the emperor of a certain family looked at me one more time, I would have to slaughter his entire family and sleep with his wife and daughter. Otherwise, he would become confused and become a demon in his mind. In just 2 or 3 days, a catastrophe swept through the entire Kanglan world. Many forces don't know why they are fighting, but the top forces above give orders, and these vassal forces can only fight. This is the sadness of being a chess piece. As the initiator of everything, many divine child divine maiden remained unfazed, just waiting for changes in heaven and earth. After the spiritual grievances between heaven and earth accumulate to a certain extent, if the guardians of the temple want to stop all this and prevent accidents from happening to this great formation of heaven and earth, they can only go out of the temple to stop the killing of all beings. Once the other party appears, the temple can no longer be hidden and can only appear in the world of Kanglan. This time, with the experience accumulated by the previous generation, I believe they will be able to break through the great formation of heaven and earth and obtain the inheritance of the Tao Seal God buried in this world. The food with added ingredients was really irritating. I could only vent my anger on classmate Nolan. Unexpectedly, she was still shameless and begged me to go back to the kitchen and teach her cooking skills. Damn it. As the killing continued, another day passed quietly. At noon on the 4th day, along with a roaring sound exploding over Wanxin City, a terrifying cultivation aura also erupted into the sky. After a few days of silence, Xiao Chen finally entered the realm of the emperor. When the aura of breaking through the realm rushed into the sky above Wanxin City changed. The demon lord has come out of seclusion. Feeling this aura, Tian Xie, Tian Xingjian and others all showed ecstasy on their faces. Although Xiao Chen only stayed in seclusion for a few days, a lot of things happened in these few days. There are some things that they can't decide on their own without Xiao Chen, but now that the other party is out of seclusion, they can have a backbone. In less than a month, I broke through from the Supreme Realm to the Emperor Realm. Who is this Mr. Xiao? While Tian Xie and others were in ecstasy, concubine Lu Yan looked at the room where Xiao Chen was with complicated eyes. When fighting, they can burst into semi-god realm combat power. They just passed the Supreme Realm some time ago, but now their opponent is about to go through the Emperor Realm Thunder Tribulation. Repeatedly, it confused her. Totally no idea. What level of power is Xiao Chen? It can only be said that this young master is really contrary to common sense. And when everyone looked over, a figure tore out of the void. It was Xiao Chen. With the help of Lu Ruoxian and others, he absorbed a large amount of essence. In addition, he had used the demigod realm cultivation experience card before, and his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth had improved dramatically. Breaking through to the Emperor realm this time was not as difficult as imagined. For Xiao Chen, everything comes naturally. Boom. Almost as soon as Xiao Chen appeared in the void, thousands of miles of thunderclouds appeared over Wanxin City, and there was even a hint of purple in the rolling thunderclouds. This is the Emperor Monarch level's purple extreme thunder tribulation. It has not appeared in the eastern domain for thousands of years. Such power caused Tian Xie and others' expressions to change dramatically. Such a terrifying thunder tribulation. Even with their current level of cultivation, there is no guarantee that they can survive it. Not to mention, during the transcending tribulation, only the first level of emperor cultivation was achieved, and it would be difficult for the ancient emperor to survive even if he was still alive. Looking at the posture in front of them, they couldn't help but feel a little worried. However, there was no trace of worry on Xiao Chen's face, instead there was a look of expectation and ecstasy. I have the seal of divine punishment and destruction in my hand. No matter what kind of thunder tribulation it is, he can deal with it calmly, and even turn it into energy for the next activation of the divine punishment seal of destruction. When the thought falls, Xiao Chen tore through the void and rushed into the thundercloud. This scene left Mu Xuanyi, Lu Qingtian and others stunned. Obviously not expecting it. Facing the monarch-level Ziji thunder tribulation, Xiao Chen dared to be so casual. Is he in the demigod realm or the emperor realm? After a moment of silence, Mu Xuanyi asked in confusion, making Zhongli curl her lips. Isn't it obvious? My cultivation level has just reached the emperor level. Looking at Mu Xuanyi, who looked suspicious of life, Zhongli continued with a complicated expression. What if I said, his real cultivation level last month was only at the Saint King level, and he broke through 2 major levels in a month? And the reason why he has the power of a demigod is because he used some special means. Will you feel more doubtful about life? As Zhongli finished these words, Mu Xuanyi's eyes shrank into vertical pupils, with a look of horror and disbelief on his face. A month ago, only the Saint King realm. And that kind of terrifying combat power that can kill the descendants of the gods is only temporarily enhanced through special means. How could there be such a monster in this world? For a moment, Mu Xuanyi couldn't help but be a little confused by the shock. Zhongli, who was standing next to her, slightly curved her mouth when she saw Mu Xuanyi's appearance. Little naughty snake, have you ever felt a little bit moved when you heard that this man is so evil? Do you even want to turn him into a subordinate? If you have any, I can help you. As these words fell, Mu Xuanyi looked slightly startled, and then turned his head strangely. 96%. Chapter 463. What a childish and boring woman. Heartbeat. I'm under the skirt. After turning his head and looking at Zhongli, Mu Xuanyi showed a sneer on his face. I'm not a fool. If you really fall in love with a man, your level of initiative is unmatched by you. How can you care about a woman's reserve? After saying a few words, Mu Xuanyi seemed to realize something and stared at Zhongli with an even weirder look. I understand. You daughter in heat. Mu Xuanyi said very confidently, which immediately made Zhongli's face freeze. No wonder you are so kind. Actually, I want to use the name of this emperor to take the opportunity to confide in Mr. Xiao and play with him under the hem of his skirt. If Mr. Xiao is not interested in you, you can blame everything on me to avoid being embarrassed as a queen. But if Mr. Xiao is interested in you, you can not only capture Mr. Xiao, but also take this opportunity to attack this emperor. What a childish and boring woman. After saying these words seriously, Mu Xuanyi turned around with some disdain. Some of Zhongli's childish behaviors in the past could not help but come to mind. If not from personal experience. Who dares to believe it? The majestic demon queen of the Northern Territory, the queen who gets into trouble with others. Not only would he draw circles on the ground and curse the opponent, but he would even make a lot of clay dolls and use a small whip to whip the opponent in various ways. After Mu Xuanyi finished speaking, Zhongli chuckled. I just saw that you, a little rascal, had been lonely for so many years. I finally found a young master who could make you look at me more. I plan to create opportunities for you to make up for your past mistakes. I didn't expect that you don't know a good heart. As she spoke, Zhongli shook her hair gently, with a charming smile on her face. Besides, with my charisma, if I want to win over this young Master Xiao, it's just a matter of hooking my fingers. Why do I need you to cover up? Such ugly words made Mu Xuanyi look contemptuous. But just when she was about to say something, a provocative smile appeared on Zhongli's face, and then she came over and said something shocking. If you don't believe it, let's compare it. Just better than. Which one of us will turn Mr. Xiao into a subordinate first? As soon as these words were spoken, Mu Xuanyi's eyes widened and she looked at Zhongli in shock. 2 famous empresses, who will win a man first? Nothing wrong. Why do I want to compete with you? After his face couldn't help but twitch, Mu Xuanyi snorted and said. There doesn't seem to be much interest in this matter. Although she has a crush on Xiao Chen, she is also curious to know more about him. But it's not so humble as to chase after you. After all, she is also the empress of the sky-swallowing Python clan, and has her own pride and reserve. Don't you always want to compete with me? This time, if you can win over me, I will recognize you as my sister from now on. Otherwise, you will be a scoundrel. Seeing Mu Xuanyi's arrogant look, Zhongli raised the corners of her mouth slightly and continued in a provocative voice. These 2 sentences, Mu Xuanyi's pupils shrank slightly, as if she had been greatly stimulated. Obviously not expecting it, Zhongli actually used provocation against her. The purpose was to force her to snatch the man together. This brain circuit was really beyond her comprehension. Boring. After a moment of silence, Mu Xuanyi said calmly. However, the other party did not refuse, which seemed to Zhongli as acquiescence. This made Zhongli's mouth curve slightly. For this mortal enemy, Zhongli can be said to be sympathetic to each other, and naturally she doesn't want to take advantage of others. In her mind, when she felt that she would be controlled by Xiao Chen in this life, she wanted to find someone to back her up. Mu Xuanyi became her target. That's all. Xiao Chen never thought that he would be able to survive the disaster. There were two empresses who came up with his idea, and it was as if they were blessed with beauty falling from the sky even while lying down. After eating, Sister Zhongli said that there was a student girl in the bar who wanted to work part-time and asked me to come over and check it. When I came over, I was stunned. Isn't this my school girl, Xiao Wu? Over time, the thunder tribulation overhead is also gradually weakening. When the last purple thunder struck, Xiao Chen's transcending tribulation came to a perfect end. The vast force of heavenly calamity filled the space between heaven and earth. With Xiao Chen's gentle inhalation, it was like a tide pouring in, being swallowed and refined continuously. Half an hour later, Xiao Chen opened his eyes suddenly, and the terrifying aura of cultivation swept away. The fifth level of the Emperor. Feeling the power of cultivation surging within his body, a look of surprise appeared on Xiao Chen's face. I thought this time, he could only rush to the fourth level of the Emperor at most, but he didn't expect to rush to the fifth level of the Emperor. It seems that experiencing high-level combat power in advance is really helpful for breaking through in cultivation. Jia. Congratulations to the Demon Lord for his unparalleled achievements in breaking through 2 major realms in just 1 month. This kind of progress in cultivation is absolutely unprecedented. When Xiao Chen calmed down, Tian Xie rushed over to congratulate him. Behind them were Tian Xingzhan, Yun Luosheng and others. Okay, stop talking about these useless things. Nothing happened these days, right? Before Tian Xie could finish speaking, Xiao Chen interrupted him and asked. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Tian Xingzhan and others instantly became extremely solemn. Lord Demon Lord, in the past few days, something big has indeed happened, and it is endangering the mainland. As they said this, Tian Xie, Tian Xingzhan and others started talking to each other. He quickly told Xiao Chen everything that had happened in the past few days, which made Xiao Chen couldn't help but frown. The great catastrophe. Xiao Chen didn't expect it either. The remaining divine descendants were so straightforward that they directly mobilized the forces behind them to cause catastrophes in all major areas of the Kanglan realm. These people are really crazy. After using the immortal soul lamp to swallow and refine Junao's remaining soul, Xiao Chen also knew more things. Among them are the purpose of the descendants, as well as the origin and number of the descendants. Just didn't expect it. The fact that this group of people would act so quickly made Xiao Chen feel a great sense of crisis. If the heaven and earth formation above Kanglan realm is broken, even if he has the true God realm cultivation experience card in his hand, he may not be able to compete with this group of people. After all, in the outer void, however, there are powerful gods who have surpassed the true God realm, and even the more terrifying divine king realm powerhouses. Unless he gets the inheritance from the Lord of the Tomb of Gods, or has other stronger trump cards, he may still be able to compete with these extraterritorial forces. Otherwise, once the formation of heaven and earth is broken, he will be a lamb to be slaughtered after all. Lord Demon Lord, do we want to take the initiative? When Xiao Chen's thoughts were turning, Tian Xie asked in a low voice. Recently, although fighting broke out in various major realms of the Eastern Domain, I don't know if some people deliberately avoided them. The forces behind them, such as the Great Desolation Sect, the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, and the Sky-Swallowing Python Clan. None of them were involved in this fight. After destroying the Wanggu Jun family and the Wanggu Yi family, he issued an order to guard the mountain gate to avoid fighting. But as this catastrophe intensifies, all major forces cannot avoid it. Sooner or later, you will have to collide with this group of red-eyed guys. This made it difficult for them to make a choice. 96%. Chapter 464 The Fifth Random Recycling, Sleeping Beauty in the Ice Crystal. Xiao Chen frowned after hearing Tian Xie's words. At this time, I also fell into deep thought. Recently, the Eastern Domain caused havoc, but deliberately avoided them. Obviously, they are the only remaining divine descendants in the Eastern Domain, and I don't want to mess with their group. This proves that the other party is very afraid of them. If these divine descendants could be killed, it might be possible to prevent the situation from developing. But if you do it rashly, you might end up in a bad mood. Ding! The system's random recycling function has been reset. Will the host perform a new recycling? Just when Xiao Chen was thinking about whether to take the initiative, the system prompt sounded suddenly, which made him look stunned. Unexpectedly, at this point, the system's random recycling would be reset. I don't know what I can pick up this time. If I can retrieve some heaven-defying treasure, I might be able to find another trump card. When the thought falls, Xiao Chen looked at Tian Xie and others and gave instructions in a low voice. Don't do anything yet. Send someone to keep an eye on their movements. I'll decide whether to hunt this group of guys after I finish handling the rest. Next, in addition to starting the 5th random recovery, he also wanted to visit the Tomb of Gods and the ancient ruins again. If he could obtain the inheritance from the Lord of the Tomb of Gods, he might be able to take this opportunity to attack the true God realm, or even obtain some kind of terrifying weapon. It will give him more confidence to face the forces outside the territory. Tian Xie and others didn't say anything after hearing this, only Liang Bing's face showed concern. Now that a catastrophe has occurred in the Kanglan realm, it must be inevitable in the central region. I wonder what's going on in the Abyss world today. After all, she is the demon queen. There are her people in the Abyss world. Are you worried about the central territory? When Liang Bing looked worried, Xiao Chen also noticed this detail and immediately comforted him softly. After the matters here are settled, we will accompany you on a trip to the central territory. This sentence, Liang Bing's body trembled slightly and his expression became excited. If Xiao Chen brings someone to accompany her to the central realm, the humiliation suffered by the evil demon race in the past will be washed away one by one from her hands. Even her fallen father can be resurrected with the help of his destiny. Finished. Xiao Chen did not stay high in the sky and landed in a mountain forest below. Seeing that the shareholder of the bar is me, a senior, Xiao Wu wanted to raise a glass to the bright moon with me, saying that red wine is not blended with essence and cannot be drunk to the fullest. She is so understanding. Be alert all around. Be aware of emergencies. After falling to the ground, Xiao Chen said in a solemn voice to Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xie and others. These words. On the other hand, Zhang Li, Mu Xuanyi and others were confused. They didn't understand what Xiao Chen wanted them to be wary of. Is it possible? Are there strong demigods around here? Husband, can you use that special teleportation talent again? When everyone was confused, Lu Ruoxian seemed to have thought of something and asked unexpectedly. Full of calculations. Today, it has been 2 full months since Xiao Chen picked her up last time. She won't forget this moment in time. Well, not only can I use it again this time, but as my cultivation level improves, the range of items I can recycle is far greater than last time. Xiao Chen didn't hide anything after hearing this, and immediately said in a solemn voice. These 2 sentences, the expressions of Lu Ruoxian, Liang Bing and others changed. Last time, Xiao Chen recovered the Tianyuan Shenshuan mirror, which is hundreds of millions of miles away from the Eastern Domain. Xiao Chen mentioned to them at that time that the recycling scope was the entire Kanglan realm. This time, the scope of recycling is far greater than last time. Is it possible that items from outside the territory can also be recycled? You have a good idea. This time, I can indeed recycle extraterritorial objects, but I have no way of determining what I will recycle back. Seeing the shocked expressions on Lu Ruoxian and others' faces, Xiao Chen said in a low voice. Finished. Xiao Chen didn't say anything more and gave the system a recycling command. Ding. Congratulations to the host for using the monthly random recycling function, and the recycled items are being sent back to the host. As the system prompt sounded, a burst of white light filled the entire forest. The void in front of Xiao Chen suddenly distorted, and a huge irregular sapphire appeared out of thin air in front of Xiao Chen. A heart-stopping terrifying pressure filled the entire forest in an instant, causing Mu Xuanyi, Zhang Li and others to have drastic changes in their expressions. Divine breath. This is definitely a divine aura. The sapphire that appeared in front of me was definitely an item from the divine domain. Tian Xie was so frightened that he almost screamed. Oh my god, the Lord Demon actually recovered a divine artifact. This is a taboo thing that cannot be tolerated in the Kanglan realm and will trigger divine punishment. But the good thing is, under the blockade of the system, this world did not respond. Look, there seems to be a person sealed inside this sapphire. Before everyone was shocked for a long time, when everyone saw the inside of the sapphire, their pupils couldn't help but shrink. This huge crystal stone has a divine aura all over its body. It is very likely that it is the divine source or divine crystal in the divine domain. And the person who can be sealed in the divine source and divine crystal must be a powerful person in the divine realm in the divine domain. If the other party is already dead, it is definitely a great opportunity. But if the other party is still alive, it will probably be a disaster. If a god fully revives in Kanglan realm, this world may be easily destroyed. Another woman. When Mu Xuanyi and others felt horrified, Xiao Chen saw the inside of the sapphire clearly, and his expression was slightly stunned at this moment. This system is awesome. Before, the queen and empress were recycled, but now their performance capabilities have improved, and even goddesses from outside the realm have been recruited. 1 a month, if this continues, can he bear it? After the corners of his mouth twitched, Xiao Chen was too lazy to complain about the system. He immediately looked at the other party carefully. Inside this sapphire that is as tall as a person. A silver-haired woman closed her eyes. Her delicate facial features were like works of art, but her expression looked extremely painful. And on the other side, they were all stained red with blood, and blood crystals even formed and adhered to the opponent's body. It looked quite tragic. I wonder what level of divine realm the other party is. Xiao Chen was not fascinated by the other party's appearance. The first thing he cared about most was the woman's cultivation level. If the opponent's cultivation level is strong enough, he may become his next big leg. As the thought falls, Xiao Chen immediately activated the system identification function, and the other party's basic information also emerged. Bo Ruoxi, the master of the Blue World Ice Sea God Palace, her cultivation has reached the peak of the Divine Lord realm. She is somewhat withdrawn and arrogant by nature, but deep down she values love and righteousness. 13,836 years ago, because I obtained the divine pearl of the Ice Sea realm, I wanted to take this opportunity to attack the God Emperor. Unexpectedly, during the retreat, the deputy palace master of Sea God Palace and outsiders attacked and broke through. As a result, the retreat failed and he suffered backlash. Later, he single-handedly inflicted heavy losses on the 7 God Lords, and suffered near-fatal injuries. He could only escape from the Ice Sea God Palace using secret methods. Use the method of water source ice breath to put the soul into a deep sleep to restore all injuries suffered by oneself. The image of Bo Ruoxi was made by the author himself. I believe everyone can guess which Chinese comic heroine it is based on. Hehe, remember to support it if you like it. 96%. Chapter 465. Even the God Emperor can't stop it. Is the system so awesome? Bo Ruoxi, the peak of the Divine King realm. After reading the messages that appeared in front of him, Xiao Chen's face showed a look of excitement. The first time you see each other. Xiao Chen believed that the opponent could only be in the Divine King realm at best. After all, the Divine King and Divine Emperor were too far away from him. Unexpectedly, the seriously injured white-haired sleeping beauty in front of me has reached the terrifying peak of the Divine Lord realm. If you can heal the other party's injuries and revive them from their deep sleep. And if you keep him lying around, the next situation will be much simpler. Hello, Xiao Chen. She seems to be alive. When Xiao Chen was excited, Zhongli felt the other person carefully and spoke with a somewhat horrified expression. Although the silver-haired woman in front of me looks like a corpse at first glance. But she still sensed that there was a weak vitality in the other party's body. It's hard to imagine what would happen if the other party suddenly revived. It's better to be alive. This way you can use it for your own use. Xiao Chen was still excited when he heard this, and responded somewhat nonchalantly. But this seemingly casual sentence frightened Zhongli and others. You can't be trying to take advantage of this guy's serious injury and unconsciousness to harvest the other's nutrients, right? After taking a deep breath, Zhongli spoke with a trembling voice. After saying this sentence, Xiao Chen almost choked to death. Immediately turned around angrily. Does this young master look like the kind of beast who would take advantage of others' danger? This possibility cannot be ruled out. Who knows? After Xiao Chen finished speaking, Zhongli actually nodded and said seriously, which made Xiao Chen's mouth twitch uncontrollably. However, he was too lazy to argue with Zhongli and could only find opportunities to teach the other party a lesson in the future. After making a small note in his mind, Xiao Chen walked directly to Bo Ruoxi. The figure stopped in front of the sapphire, which made Zhang Li, Mu Xuanyi and others extremely nervous, fearing that Xiao Chen would accidentally disturb the sleeping Bo Ruoxi. This layer of crystals is actually the divine crystal protective barrier she condensed using a secret method. Gently touching this huge sapphire, Xiao Chen couldn't help but have a look of amazement on his face, and of course a heart palpitating that was difficult to conceal. If a small piece of a crystal with such high-density energy was cut off and detonated, it would be powerful enough to destroy the entire Kanglan realm. There is absolutely no exaggeration in this. After all, this is a guardian crystal condensed by a master at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. The energy contained in it is so terrifying. System, check how many points are needed to repair her injuries. After marveling at the horror of this crystal, Xiao Chen immediately asked the system. Ding. If you want to completely repair Bo Ruoxi's injury, you need to consume 89.7 billion points. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, the system replied mechanically. Even though Xiao Chen had been prepared in his mind, he was still shocked by the system at this time. Nearly 90 billion. Isn't this too scary? Taking a deep breath to calm down, Xiao Chen's face showed a hint of depression. Nearly 90 billion points. This is not a small sum. He only has more than 70 billion points now, and he is still a little short of repairing Bo Ruoxi's injuries. System, is your favorability contract also valid for the Divine Lord? While the mind is turning, Xiao Chen asked worriedly. God Lord, this is a terrifying existence that can easily destroy a world, and the power of the soul is far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Although the system is also very powerful, Xiao Chen doesn't know the limits and is still a little uneasy. Ding. The favorability contract increases the favorability, regardless of the cultivation level, so please don't worry, the host. Xiao Chen was slightly startled when he heard the system's words. Can you actually ignore the realm of cultivation? Isn't that what it means? Even the God Emperor can't stop it. Is the system so awesome? The essence is mixed with the wine, and the fighting power is long-lasting. Taking advantage of me, Xiaowu wanted me to invest in her and become her boss. Afterwards, she introduced her sister to me. Husband, what do you plan to do with her? When Xiao Chen couldn't help being shocked, Lu Ruoxian approached and asked in a solemn voice. Even though Bo Ruoxi fell into a deep sleep now. But the divine aura exuding from their bodies still made them tremble instinctively. With my current ability, if I want to revive her, I have to pay a huge price. The next step depends on the situation. After pondering for a while, Xiao Chen put Bo Ruoxi into the Tianyuan Shenzan mirror with a wave of his hand, and then put that mirror into the system space. Thus, it can effectively isolate the divine aura on the other party. But, whether or not Bo Ruoxi should be revived depends on the future situation. If he can obtain the inheritance of the Lord of the God's tomb and does not encounter any difficult crisis for the time being, the points will be used to improve his own strength first. Seeing Xiao Chen put Bo Ruoxi away casually, Zhang Li, Lu Ruoxian and others couldn't help but feel worried. This is a powerful man in the divine realm. If he doesn't handle it well, it will be no different from committing suicide. Hey, when you brought her into the mirror world, you didn't want to use the same method to deal with me, right? When her thoughts fell, Zhang Li suddenly asked. This made Xiao Chen couldn't help but roll his eyes. Is this young master that stupid? In dealing with Zhang Li before, he was able to intimidate and induce her. That is based on the fact that he has a certain ability and can counterattack the opponent at any time. How dare he be so unscrupulous? And Bo Ruoxi is a truly powerful person in the divine realm, and he is also an extremely terrifying divine king in the divine realm. So exists. A glare at him can kill him instantly. If you want to use coercion or inducement, it is no different from seeking death. Next, are you going back to the Northern Territory? After rolling his eyes at Zhang Li, Xiao Chen thought of something and asked in a different tone. Zhang Li was sealed, and there were many enemies in the Northern Territory. If the other party is eager to return to the Northern Territory for revenge, they will have to divide their forces into two groups. The revenge has been avenged. I won't go back for the time being. Zhang Li said indifferently upon hearing this, but this sentence confused Xiao Chen. Revenge has been avenged. Seeing that Xiao Chen was a little confused, Tianxi quickly explained. Turn out to be, during the past few days of Xiao Chen's retreat, Zhang Li didn't know if she was jealous, so she dragged Mu Xuanyi to the Northern Territory for revenge. Of course, Yun Luoshang, Tian Xie and others were also forced. Under the leadership of a strong man in the semi-god realm, there are also several strong men in the emperor realm. and they are all in the 8th or 9th level. Except for the ancient forces with the descendants of gods, other forces in the Northern Territory could not stop their group at all, including several forces that attacked Zhongli. Therefore, under the leadership of Zhongli, several major forces headed by Shenshuan Dao Palace were brutally destroyed in just 2 days. This shocked many forces in the Northern Territory. After Zhongli and others destroyed Shenshuan Dao Palace and other forces, they did not stay in the Northern Territory for long, so they used the Emperor-level space array to teleport all the way back to Wanqin City. Quote. After hearing Tian Xie tell everything, Xiao Chen couldn't help but be stunned and looked at Zhongli with a strange look. Obviously, he didn't expect that the Demon Queen of the Northern Territory would be so impatient. While he was practicing with Lu Ruoxian and others, he took his people to the Northern Territory to avenge him. Next time, don't be so reckless. Feeling surprised in his heart, Xiao Chen said helplessly. Although Zhongli is now a strong person in the demigod realm, there is no guarantee that there will be no accidents. If he wasn't around, there would be trouble if something happened. Zhongli was slightly startled when she heard this. Then the corners of his mouth raised a slight arc. This scumbag. Are you worried that something will happen to her? At least this guy has some conscience. 96%. Chapter 466 Sister, that woman is so strange, she looks like us. Next, after a brief explanation, Xiao Chen returned to the wing and prepared to explore the ancient ruins of the Tomb of Gods again. This made Zhongli and Mu Xuanyi feel a little depressed. They are still prepared. I'll find a chance to get rid of Lu Ruoxian and others later and let Xiao Chen see their charm. I didn't expect that this guy would cause trouble again. Without any choice, Zhongli could only chat with Lu Ruoxian and others while teasing each other. Let's talk about some embarrassing things about Mu Xuanyi turning into a little sky-swallowing python. Certainly, this is not to laugh at Mu Xuanyi. It was to make Lu Ruoxian and others familiar with the Empress of the Sky-Swallowing Python clan, so that Mu Xuanyi could integrate into this sister group. I wonder if I can get the recognition of that Chaos Stone monument this time. When Mu Xuanyi and others were joking with each other. After Xiao Chen entered the wing, he summoned the secret key of the Tomb of Gods and the ancient ruins, and opened the space-time channel to enter it. It was still the desolate starry sky of ancient tombs. After he entered, the 3,000 solitary graves burst out with dazzling light, eager for Xiao Chen to choose them. However, Xiao Chen turned a blind eye to the 3,000 solitary graves and just headed towards the Chaos Stone tablet deep in the starry sky. At the same time, in the wing room where Lu Ruoxian and others were, the colorful butterflies sitting cross-legged in the soul-refining cauldron of the great wilderness opened their closed eyes at the same time at this moment. 2 extremely terrifying auras erupted from the soul-refining cauldron in the wilderness. This made everyone in the room freeze and all looked at him. Kai Yan and Kai Dai are going to break through to the Supreme Realm. Feeling the explosion of 2 cultivation auras, Lu Ruoxian, Liang Bing and others' eyes narrowed, and their faces showed a look of joy. The 2 of them have been in seclusion for the past few days, which makes them a little uncomfortable. Now these 2 people are out of isolation. They can have 2 more main players in controlling certain aspects of Xiao Chen. This bloodline breath, Mu Xuanyi on the side couldn't help but tremble when she felt these 2 breaths. This bloodline aura, although the essence is still somewhat different, it is indeed very similar to her. It is definitely the bloodline of the sky-swallowing python derived from her. Buzz. Next moment, as the lid of Dawang's soul-refining cauldron was opened, 2 beautiful figures also appeared in the wing. Wow, everyone is here. Seeing the familiar figures in front of her, Kai Dai, an eccentric girl, immediately said hello excitedly. Then his eyes swept across the room. Where's my brother-in-law? Overly excited, Kai Dai subconsciously shouted out this title, which made Kai Yan's mouth twitch. However, she was too lazy to care about it at this time. After nodding her head to Lu Ruoxian and others, she began to search the side room. Although this retreat only lasted a few days, but the 2 of them felt that it was very long. After coming out of seclusion, they didn't see Xiao Chen at first sight, which made them feel itchy. After all, after they get through the Supreme Thunder Tribulation, they are counting on Xiao Chen to help them consolidate their cultivation. As his eyes swept across the room, Xiao Chen was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I saw a very special face. When the 2 sisters Kai Yan and Kai Dai looked at each other with Mu Xuanyi, the 3 of them were stunned at this moment. Picture. So similar. Almost instantly, this thought came up in both Kai Yan and Kai Dai, as well as Mu Xuanyi's mind. Who are you? After a moment of hesitation, Kyan spoke first. But before she could finish her words, there was a roar over Wanxin City. The energy of heaven and earth is also locked on the two sisters. Let's go to transcending tribulation first. My husband happened to be in seclusion, and this is quite related to you, but I won't be able to tell for a while. We'll talk about everything after we get through the catastrophe. Feeling the thunder tribulation of heaven and earth condensing, Lu Ruoxian spoke in a gentle voice, causing Kyan's eyes to condense slightly. Realized immediately, a lot of things must have happened during their period of seclusion. As this thought fell, Kai Yan did not stay in the room, but took Kai Dai and disappeared into the room. What a crime. We were only halfway through the discussion about investment and stock ownership. Sister Zhang Li barged in and caught me. Knowing that I actually invested in employees, she said that I must give an explanation. Sister, that woman is so strange, she looks just like us. Is it the Queen Medusa who has not yet fallen from the snake tribe? Out of the wing, Kai Dai asked Kai Yan in the void. The first time I saw Mu Xuanyi, there was an extremely cordial feeling in her heart, like a child seeing her mother. This feeling made her feel a little strange and confused. Probably not. She has a very pure aura of the blood of the sky-swallowing python, which is something that all the previous queens of Medusa have not been able to possess. After hearing Kai Dai's words, Kai Yan shook her head and said. His eyes couldn't help but twinkle. If my guess is correct, she should be a pure 9-color sky-swallowing python, and she is most likely the empress of the sky-swallowing python clan. We are even related by blood. Can't be wrong. That kind of sharp eyes, and that aura of superiority. Only as a king can you possess it over time. What? Hearing Kai Yan's words, Kai Dai was startled. She didn't care if she was the empress of the sky-swallowing python clan, but if this white-haired woman had a blood relationship with them. Couldn't that be their mother? No, it should be grandma, or grandma. Hey, just by coming out of seclusion, you have an extra family member. This made Kai Dai's little head about to explode. Let's transcending tribulation first. Everything will become clear on its own. Seeing Kai Dai's appearance, Kai Yan just smiled faintly. But his eyes couldn't help but flicker. If this white-haired woman is really related to them, she may even be their relative. Then the Medusa lineage must have an extraordinary origin. Thinking of the origin of the Medusa lineage in her family, Kyan also had some speculations in her heart. Between the two of them, the thunderclouds in the sky have gathered and taken shape, and even because the two sisters are transcending tribulation together, a hint of purple appears in the thunderclouds. Although that kind of purple, it is not as pure and deep as Xiao Chen transcending tribulation, but it is enough to prove that this time it is Ziji thunder tribulation. This made Kai Yan and Kai Dai's expressions change. Even Lu Ruoxian and others who came out of the room had extremely solemn expressions at this moment. Purple extreme heavenly tribulation. This is a great test of the foundation and endurance of the transcending tribulator. But colorful smoke and colorful butterflies. Xiao Chen's bloodline talent has long been promoted to the monarch level supreme grade. He even often conducts in-depth complementary training and has experienced dozens of innate Tao body holy liquid baptisms. The foundation of their cultivation has been polished to perfection, and now it shouldn't be a problem to survive the Ziji heavenly tribulation. Think of this. Lu Ruoxian and others were a little relieved and just protected them on the edge of the thunder clouds. Avoid some unsighted guys who will take this opportunity to come and plunder the opportunity. Duan Mu Zuying, Lu Hanfei and others all felt the sense of urgency. Now Kai Yan and Kai Dai have both broken through to the Supreme Realm, but they haven't even broken through to the Saint King Realm yet. They were all left far behind. If you don't seize the time to practice quickly, I'm afraid it will be further delayed in the future. When the thought falls, Duan Mu Zuying and others briefly negotiated with Lu Ruoxian, and then they retreated together to prepare to break through to the Saint King Realm. Even Luo Yulian, Yan Lingji and others were stimulated, and each of them chose to go into seclusion to practice and improve their cultivation. 97%. Chapter 467. I am a majestic queen, what part of her body is missing? 500 feet. Inside the ancient ruins of the god's tomb. Looking at the chaos stone tablet 500 feet away, I felt like veins were pulsing all over my body, and my body and soul had reached the limit. There was a hint of disappointment on Xiao Chen's face. He thought that by breaking through to the 5th level of the Emperor this time, he should be able to obtain the inheritance of the Chaos Stone Tablet, but he didn't expect that he could only enter the edge of 500 feet. The pressure ahead was no longer something he could bear. If he took another step, his body and soul would explode on the spot. Although Xiao Chen has the ability to resurrect, he cannot move forward. The fifth level of the Emperor can only reach the range of 500 feet. In this case, if you want to touch this Chaos Stone tablet, your cultivation level must at least reach the ninth level of the Emperor. Even the demigod realm. After a brief estimation, Xiao Chen had the answer in his mind. He didn't stay in the ancient ruins of the god's tomb, and appeared in the wing room with a thought. Hey, where is the person? After coming out of the ancient ruins of the god's tomb, seeing the empty room, Xiao Chen had doubts on his face. But soon, as his soul thoughts spread towards the surroundings, all the situations came into his mind. Kai Yan and Kai Dai are out of seclusion. Feeling the movement over Wanxin City, Xiao Chen's face showed a hint of joy. This was faster than he expected. It gave him a surprise. When the thought fell, Xiao Chen's figure swayed slightly and appeared high in the sky of Wanxin City. Husband. Seeing Xiao Chen's appearance, Lu Ruoxian and others looked happy, but also felt a little surprised. They thought Xiao Chen would be in seclusion for several days, but they didn't expect that he would be released from seclusion in just 2 hours. Where are Zuying and the others? After glancing at Lu Ruoxian and others, he found that only a few people were here. Xiao Chen asked with some confusion. They felt that their cultivation was not up to par, so they all went into seclusion in the dragon chariot. Hearing Xiao Chen's question, Lu Ruoxian smiled and replied. This surprised Xiao Chen. But there is nothing we can do. Kai Yan and Kai Dai themselves have the blood of ancient alien species, and this time they also received the blood essence of Empress Ling Yao, and he supplemented their nutrition from time to time. It is normal for the two of them to improve their cultivation so quickly. Maybe in the future, they can be allowed to enter the inheritance of the lonely tombs of the integrated union in the ancient ruins of the god's tomb. When the thought fell, Xiao Chen's eyes flickered. Although the inheritance of the integrated union's 3,000 solitary graves will limit its own growth, it can only reach the height of the Lord of Solitary Tombs. But that's based on normal conditions. If he can obtain the inheritance of the Lord of the Divine Tomb in the future, and cooperate with the system's abnormal upgrade ability, he may be able to help everyone break this inheritance restriction. The two plugins are combined. The women and cronies around him can definitely grow into true gods in a short period of time. Even a higher god or divine king. Hey, why are you staring at her and smiling so evilly? Just when Xiao Chen's mind was turning and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, Zhang Li's voice suddenly sounded, which made Xiao Chen couldn't help but be stunned. Only discovered at this time. Mu Xuanyi was right in front of him. My master likes it, do you want to take care of it? Xiao Chen raised the corner of his mouth slightly and spoke without any sign of weakness. This sentence, Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi were stunned for a moment. Like, so straightforward and unabashed. Is it possible? Was the other party already imagining various scenes in his heart of Mu Xuanyi and his two wives serving each other together? Bah, he is indeed a scumbag. Zhang Li couldn't help but spat when she heard this, and looked at Xiao Chen with contempt on her face. I am a majestic queen, what part of her body is missing? This guy doesn't stare. Is it a man's curiosity to stare at a little rascal? I always like to charge across races, it can satisfy some hobbies, right? Haha. Quote. Seeing Zhang Li suddenly looking unhappy, Xiao Chen was also very depressed at this time. He felt that this queen must have had her menstruation disorder, otherwise she wouldn't want to fight him all day long. In the conversation between several people, the colorful smoke and colorful butterflies in the sky also completed the transcending tribulation at this time. As the two cultivation auras exploded into the sky, the two sisters' cultivation fluctuations stopped at the supreme fourth level. This made Lu Ruoxian, Mu Xuanyi and others moved. A breakthrough, even breaking through 4 small realms, and still in the supreme realm. Among so many people present, except for the monster Xiao Chen, no one else has this kind of achievement. In order not to favor one thing over another, I could only invest in Sister Zhang Li at the same time. This time I invested a lot of money, which almost made Sister Zhang Li extremely happy. Husband, brother-in-law, he hadn't completely stabilized his cultivation yet, when he saw Xiao Chen in front of him. Kai Yan and Kai Dai both had a look of ecstasy on their faces, and then they turned into streams of light and rushed towards Xiao Chen. Next moment, under the gaze of everyone, these twin sisters, one is extremely cool and the other is playful and eccentric. They all threw themselves into Xiao Chen's arms. In the arms of Nephrite, the heavy weight made him feel a great sense of oppression, giving Xiao Chen the urge to blow the horn and charge. However, He was too embarrassed to resist in front of everyone. Everyone is watching. Please be reserved first. I can feel the temperature of the delicate body in my arms rising, and there are spring waves rippling in each of my eyes. It is self-evident what it means. Xiao Chen coughed quickly and said. The fall of this sentence. Kai Yan and Kai Dai suddenly woke up a little, and each of them gave Xiao Chen a blank look before leaving the embrace. That look was clearly saying something. If you don't help them consolidate their cultivation later, don't let them play any tricks in the future. Husband, who is this one? After breaking away from Xiao Chen's arms, Kaiyan's expression returned to elegance and she looked at Mu Xuanyi. Her name is Mu Xuanyi. She is the current empress of the sky-swallowing python clan in the Tianmeng Mountains, and she is also the creator of the Medusa lineage of the snake people. After hearing Kaiyan's words, Xiao Chen immediately made a long story short. After briefly introducing Mu Xuanyi's identity, he also told Kai Yan and Kai Dai about the relationship between him and the snake people. She created the Medusa queen of the snake tribe. After hearing Xiao Chen tell these things, Kai Yan and Kai Dai were stunned on the spot. As descendants, they all know everything about the first generation of Queen Medusa. I originally thought that the one who gave the blood of the sky-swallowing python and created the Medusa lineage of the snake people was the strong man. He should no longer be alive. Unexpectedly, after thousands of years, the other party was not only alive and well, but also appeared in front of them. This kind of impact on the soul is simply unparalleled. When Kai Yan and Kai Dai looked at Mu Xuanyi, the latter also seemed a little nervous at this time. For her, the twin sisters in front of them are a different kind of continuation of the bloodline. They all have almost the same blood, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are relatives at this time. Kaiyan has met ancestor Xuanyi. After a moment of silence, Kai Yan was the first to come to her senses, and immediately pulled Kai Dai and saluted Mu Xuanyi. Without this person, the snake people would not have the Medusa lineage, and naturally there would be no these two sisters. So it's about emotion and reason. They should all respectfully call Mu Xuanyi ancestor. Ah, Kai Dai has met ancestor Xuanyi. After being pulled by her sister, Kai Dai came back to her senses at this time and quickly saluted Mu Xuanyi. Although she felt a little confused. But since her sister recognized it, she just shouted along. You don't need to call me ancestor. When Kai Yan and Kai Dai just finished shouting, Mu Xuanyi waved her hands quickly, making the two sisters feel a little confused. They thought there was something rude, so they all raised their heads in confusion. 97%. Chapter 468. There are still a few days left for this trip to the Central Territory. How about we just communicate for a few days? Kiki, your ancestor is still a virgin. It's so offensive to her to be called that without anyone else. So you should call her sister. When Kai Yan and Kai Dai were confused, Zhongli chuckled and said. It's just that tone, coupled with these words. It is inevitable that people will have some imagination. Elder sister, Kaiyan was also a smart person. She glanced at Mu Xuanyi and then at Xiao Chen. She seemed to realize something at this time, and couldn't help but have a strange look on her face. Is it possible? Does the Xuanyi ancestor in front of me also have that kind of interest in Xiao Chen? Good guy. She had only been in seclusion for a few days. It didn't matter that an ancestor from the origin of the bloodline suddenly appeared, but she didn't expect that this ancestor would actually keep an eye on her man. Isn't this too exciting? With Kai Yan and Kai Dai staring at her like this, Mu Xuanyi had lived for thousands of years, and her cultivation had reached the 9th level of the emperor. It's inevitable to still be a little embarrassed at this point. After all, the identities of the two sisters are here, and they look very similar to her. Under the influence of various factors, it was almost impossible for her to be as calm as water. Sister, I suspect that this ancestor wants to steal men from us. When the atmosphere seemed a little awkward, Kai Dai sent a message to Kai Yan, which made the latter's mouth twitch slightly. Do you still have doubts about this? He refused to call the older ancestors even though they were called them, and even took the initiative to lower his profile and wanted to be sisters with them. Isn't it obvious that he wants to compete with them for men? However, Kaiyan didn't show off or give face. She even changed the title according to the other party's wishes, and called Mu Xuanyi sister Xuanyi with Kai Dai. According to the records of the snake people, this sky-swallowing python empress, who gave the snake people the opportunity, has no blood relationship with their Medusa lineage. Just a drop of blood. It only caused the bloodline quality of the first Queen Medusa to change. So, from some aspects, they are not the descendants of Mu Xuanyi, they only have the origin of racial blood inheritance. If not, I'm afraid there will be a gap in her heart. Let's go down below and talk. After several people got to know each other, Xiao Chen said with a slight smile. After the group arrived at the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, Lu Ruoxian, Liang Bing and others also told Kai Yan and Kai Dai what happened during this period. Kai Yan and Kai Dai were deeply shocked when they learned that so many things had happened in the outside world during their period of seclusion. Defeat the Dark Restricted Area, rescue Yun Luosheng, and destroy the Wanggu Jun family and the Wanggu Yi family. No matter which one of them happened, it was enough to break their cognition. What's even more terrifying is that today's Xiao Chen can not only burst into semi-god realm combat power, but his cultivation has also broken through to the 5th level of the Emperor. This shocked Kai Yan and Nai Dai. I thought that after leaving seclusion this time, the two sisters' cultivation would be able to catch up with Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, it was also pulled to a great level. This is simply incredible. What are your husband's plans next? I know that the entire Kanglan world is not peaceful now, and the forces in the major regions are even fighting each other. Kaiyan asked with a solemn voice. Although this catastrophe has not affected them yet. But judging from the current situation, it is only a matter of time. This time it gets tricky. Next, I'm going to go to the Central Territory to hunt down the goddess. After hearing Kaiyan's words, Xiao Chen said in a solemn voice, which made everyone look stunned. Liang Bing's body trembled slightly. Obviously. The biggest reason why Xiao Chen chose to go to Zhongyu was actually because of her. If Xiao Chen wants to hunt the descendants of the gods, he will hunt them in the eastern domain, so why go all the way to the central domain? This moment, even though Liang Bing was the demon queen, she couldn't help but want to transform into a succubus at this time, and rewarded Xiao Chen dozens of times inside and out. Next, after making a plan, Xiao Chen was also straightforward and immediately informed Yun Luosheng, Tian Xingjian and others. But this time, Xiao Chen did not bring Lu Qingtian and the people from the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, but asked them to help pay attention to the situation in the eastern domain. Also keep an eye on Dongwang to see if anything big happens. And Luo Hao is the emperor. Because the territory of the Great Principal Empire was affected, he had to sit in the middle of the court to stabilize the overall situation, so these people could not go to the central region together. Can only stay. There is mutual support for the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce. However, Ji Yuzan, an old stubborn man, learned that Mu Xuanyi was going to the central region. Then he rushed over with the elders Mu Wei and Nihan, preparing to go hunting in the central territory with Xiao Chen and his party. After some preparations, several people were ready to hit the road. However, Xiao Chen still kept a few thoughts in mind. He raised 2 space formation discs to semi-divine level, kept one at the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, and sent the other to the sky-swallowing Python clan. If something unexpected happens, in just a short moment, a group of them can activate the space array and forcefully return across the void from the central territory. Regrettably, he now does not have the spatial coordinates of the central domain, so he can only fly across hundreds of millions of miles from the eastern domain. Even if the 2-headed demonic dragon chariot is promoted to semi-divine level and the 2-headed demonic dragon puppet has successfully entered the Emperor realm level, it will take at least several days for them to reach the central region. After that, Xiaowu's junior sister saw how good I was and said that she wanted to recruit her sister so that I could meet her some other time. Her sister Ali is also very hardworking and capable. Isn't that good? Husband, since it will take several days to reach the central territory, do we have to do something during this period? As the double-headed magic dragon chariot rushed out of Wanxin City and headed rapidly towards the central territory, Kaiyan said something meaningful. Finished. She couldn't help but lick her lips, showing an extremely charming look. When Mu Xuanyi, who was not far away, saw it, he couldn't help showing a look of astonishment on his face. Obviously not expecting it, this one looked like a descendant of the cold-blooded sky-swallowing python like her. He actually has such a charming side. Is it possible? Is it because the other party can't suppress the snake desire in his body? Hey, I wonder what Madam wants to do. Hearing Kaiyan's words, Xiao Chen asked knowingly. While talking, he also glanced at Mu Xuanyi and Zhong Li, causing them to quickly look away. It's very simple. We still have a few days to go to the central territory, how about we just communicate for a few days? Hear Xiao Chen's words. Kaiyan's fingers slid from her cheeks to her red lips, and then from her red lips to her neck as she spoke, and even to the graceful place under her neck. That alluring appearance is enough to make any man go crazy after seeing it. Ah, sister, you are so naughty. Kai Dai on the side couldn't help shouting when she saw this scene, but her words didn't contain much contempt. Instead, it revealed a feeling of excitement and admiration. This kind of look is cold and lustful, delicate and coquettish. She had tried to imitate it before, but it just didn't taste like it. Kaiyan's attitude is like killing both men and women. This made her younger sister envious. Even Xiao Chen. He already knew the woman in front of him very well, but at this moment he was still aroused by Kaiyan's gesture. The blood in his body suddenly surged, and he stopped pretending at this moment. Bold monster. Don't think that just because your cultivation has reached a great level, you can show off in front of me. I will let you know today. Not everyone can catch Xiao's Thunder Fire Overlord Spear. After being angered by Kai Yan, Xiao Chen shouted coldly at the witch, then suppressed her and dragged her into the room with a wave of her hand. Of course, if the city gate catches fire, it will inevitably affect the fish in the pond. Kai Dai, Lu Ruoxian and Liang Bing were also tragically implicated at this moment. This scene, seeing Mu Xuanyi stunned again and again, he could only focus on Zhong Li. Calm down. If you stay here for a long time, you will know that this is normal. I didn't realize that your descendant who is bound by blood is teaching you how to show the charm of the snake demon. Seeing Mu Xuanyi's shocked face, Zhong Li rolled her eyes and said these words. It felt like Mu Xuanyi was struck by lightning. An unprecedented sense of shame suddenly surged from beneath the body to the top of the head. 97%. Chapter 469. The fight between the three major clans in the central region. Kanglan Realm, Middle Territory. Although the area of the central domain is less than half of the eastern domain. But the concentration of heaven and earth spiritual energy here is a little stronger than that in the eastern domain. In this area, the human race and the beast race are not the masters, but the angel race and the holy god race dominate this area. Of course, years ago, there was demon race to contend with. But since the alliance between the angel clan and the holy god clan, and the foundations of both have advanced by leaps and bounds, the evil demon race has been pushed into the abyss world. If the Lord of the Abyss hadn't sacrificed himself to seal the entrance to the abyss world, I'm afraid the two clans would be dominant now. And this time, with the arrival of Yugen in the abyss world, the situation of the evil demon race has been reversed. The sleeping demon kings have revived one after another, and the dust-covered demon blood pool has undergone transformation. He actually gained some upper hand in just 2 days. This is also due to the talent of high-level demons, which can demonize creatures of other races. Therefore, after breaking out of the abyss world, many humans and beast races in the central domain were transformed into demons or monsters. Let the legion of low-level monsters continue to expand, thereby quickly occupying more areas. This is the horror of demon race. Face the evil demon race's counterattack. Both the Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan focused on defense, and were forced to the hinterland of the central domain from the entrance to the abyss world. The fighting has dyed the land dark red, and countless humans and beast races have perished in this fighting. These people, they were all believers in the Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan, but at this moment they were abandoned by the two major clans, which caused overwhelming resentment to condense in the sky above the central territory. Even more ridiculous. At this time, in the fight between the three major clans, no emperor-level expert has taken action. Just the participation of Supreme Realm experts caused half of the central territory to be stained with blood. One can imagine how brutal this kind of fighting is. My king, the main force of the demon clan, has entered the hinterland of the central territory. Should we take action? In the midst of a brutal fight in the central territory, a giant celestial body floated thousands of feet high in the sky like a heavenly palace. And on this giant celestial body, several figures looked down at the earth with cold eyes, and they all had a pair of wings on their backs. This group of people, it is the senior officials of the Tian clan, the king of Heavenly Palace and the elders of the great emperors. There's no rush yet, waiting for the arrival of the divine child and the old angel king, otherwise we will not be able to stop the evil demon race. Hearing the angel's words, Wei, the king of Heavenly Palace, immediately opened his eyes. As the king of the angel clan in the lower realm, he also knows a little bit about things in the divine domain. This time, the arrival of many divine beings is also a great opportunity for them. If you can help the descendants of your own clan, find the temple and obtain the inheritance, or even break the opening heaven formation. They are the powerful ones in the emperor realm. They all have the opportunity to break away from the shackles of this world, step into the divine domain and become a more terrifying powerhouse in the divine realm. So, only then will they carry out the orders of the great descendants of the gods without hesitation. Fighting started directly on the mainland. Buzz. Almost as soon as Hua Yi finished speaking, the space on the giant celestial body suddenly shattered, and two figures emerged at this time. This is clearly Hua Yin, the descendant of the angel clan, and Hua Long, the only remaining demigod of the angel clan. With the arrival of these two people, Hua Yi and others quickly bowed, their eyes filled with awe. Have the guys from the Holy God clan arrived yet? Looking at everyone, Hua Yin asked indifferently. As the fighting progresses, they couldn't hold it any longer. Although the purpose of this fight was to create carnage and weaken the seal of heaven and earth, it was also to resolve racial grievances. There are also deep-rooted conflicts in the divine domain between the angel race, the holy god race and the demon race. Therefore, after Hua Yin and the descendants of the Holy God clan combined their efforts, they planned to work together to eliminate the descendants of the evil demon race. And here, it was their agreed place. It's not coming yet. Hua Yi shook his head when he heard this and was about to say something. But before he finished speaking, as if he noticed something, he suddenly raised his head and looked forward. Boom! The next moment, accompanied by a roaring explosion, the void in front suddenly shattered. A palace chariot with a size of thousands of feet appeared in the void like a giant virtual coon. And on this palace chariot, standing there were figures 10 feet tall, like titan-like figures. This is the Holy God clan. The figure at the head is none other than the divine child of the Holy God clan, the Holy Scale. The old man with a rotten aura behind him is the immortal demigod of the Holy God clan, Sheng Gaifeng. There is another person who is the patriarch of the Holy God clan, Saint Emperor Yi. I agreed to Xiao Wu's request, and when I came to the company, I saw Senior Yunxi, saying that my boss was incompetent, and if I didn't take punishment, she would report it, and I. A little late, but it's nothing serious. Let's proceed as planned now. Appeared in the chariot palace. After gathering with Hua Yin and his group, Sheng Lin said in a low voice. This time, in order to destroy the evil demon race and eliminate Yuzan, the top leaders of the Holy God clan basically mobilized. Even the sleeping demigods were pulled out, which shows their determination to destroy the evil demon race. Haha, it's really courageous for the two tribes to join forces. But do you think you can destroy the demon clan and kick this demon out of the chess game like this? Not long after Shang Lin finished speaking, a piercing voice suddenly sounded in the void, and then a vortex appeared strangely. When Hua Yin, Sheng Lin and others looked over, figures appeared in the sky thousands of feet high. The terrifying demonic energy was like a tsunami, and when these people appeared, it swept towards the surroundings crazily. The entire world turned into darkness in just a moment, which caused the expressions of the powerful men from the Angel clan and the Holy God clan to change. Yuzan, after seeing the leading figure, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin couldn't believe it. Obviously not expecting it, when they wanted to surround Yushuan, the other party actually came to them. Is it possible? Does this guy have some kind of trump card? Since you want to kick me out of the chess game in advance, don't blame me for being cruel to you. Looking at the powerful men of the two major races in front of him, Yushuan showed a ferocious smile on his face. While the words echoed, Yushuan didn't hesitate at all and immediately burst out with all his strength. Along with this, a seal formed in his hand. Stone gates appeared behind him, each exuding a terrifying demonic energy, as if they were connected to the 9 nether purgatory. This is the demonic gate of abyss hell. Looking at the stone gates in front of them, Hua Yin and others' pupils shrank slightly. The demon gate of abyss hell. Not only can it connect to the depths of the abyss world, but also teleport a group of powerful demons to your eyes. You can even summon the dead demon race strongman. Turn it into an evil spirit to cooperate with the Legion to fight. And if the stone gate is not destroyed, the evil spirits can continue to be reborn, and one can imagine how terrifying it is. And in front of you is behind Yushuan. There are actually 4 demonic gates of abyss hell standing there. It is obvious that they were forged by 4 evil demon race demigods who were willing to sacrifice themselves. No wonder. Evil demon race thousands of years ago, even if he was forced into a desperate situation, no demigod would ever come out to save him. It turns out that he sacrificed himself to create the demon gate of abyss hell. Waiting for this day to come. 97%. Chapter 470 next. You guys will all become demon slaves. You really have a skill. I saw demigods and evil spirits coming out of the demonic gate of hell, and a crowd of demonic soldiers behind them. Hua Yin whispered with a cold face, and then formed a seal with his hands. The heavenly palace behind him suddenly erupted with a roar, and a huge pool emerged. Sparkling among the waves, a figure with a metallic texture all over its body emerged from the pool very strangely. The terrifying pressure was like a storm, sweeping across the world in an instant. Military Tianqi. The previous generation of descendants of the angel clan spent all their resources to build a terrifying weapon. The fallen angel tribesmen can be thrown into the Tianqi to be rebuilt. After incorporating various precious weapon refining materials, it is refined into a supreme killing weapon. This is the angel troop. It's just that these angel soldiers have no independent consciousness, only pure fighting consciousness and desire to kill, and only God generals are qualified to use them. So this is a branch of Tianqi. After being in a state of dust for nearly 120,000 years, now with the advent of Hua Yin, the angel arms have come to the world. Also at this time, when Hua Yin activated Tianqi, the divine child's divine scale also summoned many sarcophagi. As these sarcophagi were opened with great force, figures exuding a terrifying aura appeared in this world. This is the giant puppet of the Holy God clan. It was made by the fallen emperor and strong man of the clan, blending many materials into it. On average, one can be refined for every 10 emperor corpses. But after 120,000 years, the accumulated giant spirit puppets are also terrifying. At a glance, there are nearly 30 of them. 2 of them are actually semi-divine level. It's just that these puppets can easily lose control every time they are revived and activated. Only the divine child of the Holy God clan can control it with secret techniques. Kill. Seeing both the Angel clan and the Holy God clan showing their trump cards, Yuzan didn't have any panic on his face, but instead showed a look of solemnity. As these words full of murderous intent echoed in the void, whether it was demon kings like Carlos or Luis, or demons and evil spirits coming out of the abyss and hell's magic gate. With roars, they all rushed towards the Angel tribe and the Holy God tribe. There was no trace of fear in his eyes, only the cold light of bloodthirst and cruelty. Just like this group of demons. At this time, he had lost his mind and turned into a bloodthirsty monster. In an instant, as the 3 major clans collided in the void, the roar instantly shook the world. The destructive storm was like the end of the world, causing the void thousands of miles around to explode and collapse. There were many strong men from the 3 major clans who were torn into pieces by each other almost at the moment of collision. The bloody aura, accompanied by energy shock, swept across the world in a short period of time. That kind of horrific fight. It seems a little pale to describe it in words. And in this collision, demon race was suppressed and at a disadvantage in just a short moment. Many demon monarchs were even injured, and some were even torn into pieces by their opponents. But for all this, there was no trace of panic on Yushuan's face, but uncontrollable excitement. Yushuan, no matter what trump card you have, with the joint efforts of our 2 clans, your elimination is a foregone conclusion. Seeing that the fighting has entered a fever pitch, Hua Yin's figure appeared high in the sky. As the words echoed, his cultivation exploded, and he used divine ability to suppress Yushuan. Even the moment he did it, Holy Scale also appeared in the sky without saying a word, and also used divine ability to suppress Yushuan. The 2 great descendants of the gods took action together, and their power was simply terrifying. Is it a foregone conclusion that you will be eliminated? Upon hearing this, Yushuan just showed a stern smile, and then burst into cultivation while laughing wildly, and the terrifying demonic flames swept across like a storm. Behind him, a mysterious shadow emerged. Demonic power is overwhelming. As Yuzan waved his trident, a terrifying divine ability greeted Hua Yin and Sheng Lin. In an instant, as the 3 of them collided, the entire battlefield was cleared into a vacuum zone, and many strong men who were fighting were forcibly thrown away. Facing the suppression of the 2 divine children, Yushuan also fell into a disadvantage at this time. It can even be said that he has no power to fight back and can only passively defend against the 2 attacks. But as time goes by, the smile on Yushuan's face also became more and more sinister, which made both Hua Yin and Sheng Lin feel uneasy. Dare to challenge the boss. I backhanded Senior Yunxi to fill in the rules and regulations of the company to let her understand what a center and 2 basic points are, and she immediately became soft-spoken. Don't hold back, fight quickly. Feeling increasingly uneasy, Hua Yin shouted loudly. The pure power of light burst out from his body crazily, and a figure whose face could not be seen appeared behind him, and then he slashed down at Yushuan with the holy sword in his hand. Angels ruling. Among the divine ability mastered by Hua Yin, it is one of the more terrifying moves. although there is no blessing from the divine power of light at this time. But with the cultivation of the demigod realm to activate it, the power that explodes is still terrifying. Same. When Hua Yin used this move, Sheng Lin's body expanded in a circle as he screamed, and a terrifying shadow appeared behind him, like an ancient god from ancient times. In the vision of galaxy fighting around, he punched Yu Xuan. A shocking punch. This is also a sure kill skill mastered by Shengelin. At this time, it is like an ancient god destroying the world, and the power is enough to make people's liver and gallbladder burst. The two divine children suddenly attacked with all their strength, causing the expressions of many strong men present to change drastically. This kind of power, not to mention obliterating the 9th level of the Emperor. Even a strong person in the demigod realm will be killed on the spot if he is not careful. Ha ha ha, I'm waiting for you. Seeing Hua Yin and Sheng Lin spare no effort, Yuzan immediately laughed wildly and threw a ball of light with his raised hand. The light group exudes a torrent of heavenly demon energy, and is wrapped in a group of green mist. It looks like a sealed poisonous mist. Not good. Seeing the light group in front of them, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin's expressions changed dramatically. But by now it was too late for the two of them to stop. Boom. As the divine ability collided with the light group, the strange green mist accompanied the impact of the storm, sweeping thousands of miles around like a tsunami. With the assistance of the two divine child divine abilities, this poisonous mist instantly swept across the entire battlefield. Most of them fell on other strong men around them. In this impact, Yu Xuan was also blown away on the spot. Although dark demonic blood spurted out of his mouth, and his chest collapsed and exploded, he was already severely injured. But there was no anger at all on his face, instead he laughed in a twisted expression. Ha ha ha, thanks to you two, this poison can spread. Next, you guys, just become demon slaves. Hearing what Yuzan said, they also felt that after the poisonous mist submerged into their bodies and true energy were continuously eroded, and bloodthirsty and cruel killing thoughts emerged in their minds. Hua Yin and Sheng Lin's pupils shrank violently, as if they were thinking of something at this moment. He looked at Yu Xuan in shock. This is corpse heart demonic soul poison. Impossible. This is divine level poison, which is not tolerated in the Kinglan world. How did you bring poison into the Kinglan realm? After identifying the poisonous mist, Hua Yin couldn't help but scream. Corpse heart demonic soul poison. This is a very terrifying divine level poison. After being poisoned, it will fall into a state of madness, the divine body and soul will be seriously contaminated, and eventually become a zombie-like corpse. Even a strong person in the realm of gods cannot purify the toxin once the poison is too deep. And this poison, the quality has reached the divine level, and it is impossible to appear in the Kinglan realm. After all, the 18th divine king. It is the limit to be able to send their souls into this world without touching the great formation of heaven and earth in Kinglan realm. It is impossible to send in other auxiliary treasures. Not to mention a terrifying poison that can threaten the powerful in the realm of gods. How on earth did this guy do it? Didn't the other divine kings notice it? 98%. Chapter 471. This time, after all, I am the devil who is superior. Hey, are you surprised or surprised? This is the result of many years of preparation by our clan, and now it can finally be put to use. Seeing the horrified expressions on Hua Yin and Sheng Lin's faces, Yu Xuan showed a wild smile. 120,000 years ago, the previous generation of divine descendants risked their lives and merged a trace of the demon soul poison into the remnant soul. With the help of the evil demon race divine king. Bring this trace of poisonous power into Kinglan realm. And 120,000 years ago, evil demon race the previous generation of descendants wanted to use this trace of poisonous power to enslave the descendants of the angel tribe and the holy tribe, but this trace of poisonous power was too weak. In order to be able to hide from the major divine king and the heaven and earth formations of the Kinglan realm. This trace of toxicity is weakened below the divine level. It's not even enough to have a fatal effect on a strong man in the demigod realm. Then, evil demon race the previous generation of descendants, after conquering the abyss world and ruling the evil demon race. He then forged a 10,000 poisonous demon urn to nourish this trace of poisonous power. And left behind the method of raising the corpse heart demon soul poison. Certainly, this is a low-end version that has been simplified countless times. But that's it. After 120,000 years of cultivation, this trace of corpse heart demon soul poison has grown to an extremely terrifying level. Even if the quality has not exceeded the divine level, the terrifying toxins contained in it are still there. It was enough to make thousands of emperors go crazy and turn into corpse puppets. This is Yuzhan's biggest trump card. This is also the reason why he dares to bring the evil demon race to seek revenge from the Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan. If the Angel Clan and Holy God Clan can be enslaved, then the power of the three clans will be integrated. He can even enter other realms and eliminate other divine descendants one by one. As expected of the evil demon race, she only knows these despicable tricks. Hearing Yushuan's proud words, Hua Yin's face turned ferocious, and pure white flames burst out from his body. But you want to use this method to enslave this divine child. This can only be said to be a joke. After realizing that the corpse heart demon soul poison on his body was not authentic, Hua Yin burst into cultivation in a furious roar, and the holy flames of light continued to burn on his body, frantically purifying the demonic poison that invaded his body. Accompanied by a squeaking sound, wisps of strange black mist were constantly being forced out of his body. Even the holy scales on the side, it also burst into golden light amidst the roar, and a strange black mist was also forced out of its body. Hey, self-righteous, do you really think that my main target is just you two idiots? I saw Hua Yin and Sheng Lin trying to force out the corpse heart demon soul poison from their bodies. Yushuan shouted in a cold voice. He ignored the injuries to his body and struck the two of them with his trident. Saw Yuzhan's attack. Hua Yin and Sheng Lin could not continue to force out the poison, so they could only use divine ability to fight back while roaring. As the three people collided again, a devastating storm raged crazily. And around. As the corpse heart demon soul poison spreads, many powerful people have been infected one after another. Except for a few existences in the demigod realm, the rest of the strong men have been counterattacked by the demonic poison. A cold light of bloodthirsty and violence appeared in the eyes, and strange lines appeared on the neck. Many powerful emperors kept struggling amidst the roars. Before they could suppress the onset of poisonous power, many demon monarchs descended with roars. The divine abilities blasted down one after another, forcing the opponent to parry. It also further intensified the erosion of the demonic poison. And those angel soldiers and giant spirit corpse puppets are killing weapons with relatively weak soul power, and they are all controlled by Hua Yin and Sheng Lin. At this time, the two of them had too much time to take care of themselves, and they were even more restrained by Yushuan. This also led to many angel soldiers and giant zombies instantly lost control under the erosion of the demonic poison. Launch indiscriminate attacks on surrounding creatures. Such a change. This made the already difficult situation in front of them even worse. Many powerful men from the Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan were killed, and some even became possessed and turned into puppets after being severely injured. Even Heavenly Palace King Yi and Heavenly Saint King Saint Emperor Yi showed signs of demonic poisoning at this moment. Although they have the cultivation of the 9th level of the Emperor, they still cannot withstand the erosion of this kind of demonic poison. Less than a quarter of an hour. The situation on the battlefield has undergone a dramatic reversal. The Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan, which originally had the upper hand, continued to defect under the influence of the corpse heart demon soul poison. Except those that fall and are eaten. Most of the powerful men from the Angel Clan and Holy God Clan have been assimilated into monsters at this time. This is the case. Hua Yin and Sheng Lin were left with splitting eyes. Before the education of Senior Yun Shi was carried out to the end, classmate Medusa caught me and said that my boss was not doing his job properly and he must make me understand what it means to check for leaks and fill them up. Withdraw. Find a way to join up with other descendants, otherwise we won't be able to deal with this guy. In the roar of the voice, Hua Yin's wings shook and he wanted to retreat. Even many angel elders ignored him. Even the holy scales. Hearing this, he collapsed the void without hesitation and wanted to leave this ghost place with Hua Yin. But right now, a ferocious smile appeared on Yushuan's face, and his hands formed seals at this moment. Some of the demons scattered around the world exploded into a pile of blood mist in a very strange way. Immediately afterwards, the 4 abyss hell magic gates erupted with strange light, and the magic lines were led by the essence and blood of many demons, blocking the world like a spider web. Hua Yin, Sheng Lin and others were trapped inside. This made the 2 great descendants of the gods turn around sharply and stare at Yushuan with extremely serious eyes. Yushuan, Daoyan Temple has not appeared yet, and we don't want to die together with you. But if you really push us into a hurry, you should know what the consequences will be. As the voice echoed in the world, the auras on Hua Yin and Sheng Lin became more and more dangerous. Hey, what will be the consequences? I really don't know what the hell. Hearing Hua Yin's cold and arrogant threatening words, Yushuan seemed to be stimulated at this time. A seal was formed in the low roar of the words, and the four abyss hell demon gates trembled again, and a wave of waves swept across thousands of miles in an instant. Many strong men who had been corroded by the corpse heart demon's soul poison let out violent roars and looked at Hua Yin and Sheng Lin. Next moment, each one of them was like a mad dog, chasing the two of them crazily. Damn it, you are forcing us to die together. Seeing many evil demon race, strong men from the angel clan and even the holy god clan rushed towards them crazily. Hua Yin and Sheng Lin roared and displayed their trump cards. The destructive power exploded in the void, drowning the many strong men who rushed over. The void completely collapsed into nothingness. The four abyss purgatory demon gates were trembling, and even the heavenly palace and the giant spirit boat were blown away. Many strong men who were close to Hua Yin and Sheng Lin were wiped out by this force on the spot, and even their bodies were not left behind. This scene let Yushuan's pupils shrink suddenly. Obviously not expecting it, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin actually had such a trump card. Their combined attack killed nearly 70% of the powerful people around them. It looked like there were only some demon monarchs left around, as well as a few angel soldiers and giant zombie puppets. Yu Zhan laughed wildly again. Ha ha ha, your strength is indeed terrifying, but now you don't have any tricks left, right? Looking at the two people who looked pale after using their trump cards, Yu Zhan said with a sneer in a solemn voice. It seems that the death of many puppets can be used to replace the life-saving trump card of the two people in front of them. This is a very cost-effective thing. This time, after all, I am the devil who is superior. After laughing wildly, Yushuan didn't continue to talk nonsense, and wanted to kill the two of them. But also at this time, outside this sealed void, a space was suddenly torn apart. Immediately afterwards, accompanied by the explosion of a dragon's roar, a two-headed demonic dragon pulled a chariot into the palace and rushed out of the void in a very strange way. 98%. Chapter 472. What kind of monster is this guy? Someone is coming. Seeing the movement outside the demon formation, Yushuan raised his head with a stern look, his eyes showing bloodthirsty killing intent. No matter who this group of people is, if they dare to interfere in their affairs, the final outcome will be death. Now, blast away this formation. Seeing Yushuan pause for a moment, Hua Yin burst out in cultivation amidst roars, not paying attention to who appeared outside the formation. A divine ability killing move blasted towards the magic seal in the void, trying to take advantage of this opportunity to break the seal and escape. The holy scale also roared and exploded in cultivation, and punched the void formation without hesitation. But also at this moment, there were angel soldiers and giant zombies that had turned into monsters around them, and there were even two strong demigods from the angel tribe and the holy god tribe. Each one of them roared and charged towards Hua Yin and Sheng Lin. In an instant, the terrifying fighting broke out again amidst the roar, and the demonic poison mixed with the storm continued to sweep through the formation. That kind of terrifying impact. It was enough to make any strong demigod despair. The void formation was even more trembling during the impact, and it looked like it might explode at any time. This scene, Xiao Chen, who had just arrived here, couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Obviously not expecting it. This fight will be so brutal. After he, Kayan and others practiced for 3 days and 3 nights, the girls were defeated due to the limit of endurance. He had no choice but to interrupt his seclusion and come out for some air. Unexpectedly, when the chariot entered the hinterland of the Central Territory, he sensed a fight breaking out thousands of miles away. Thousands of miles of void were blocked by the formation. There are many auras in the formation such as the angel race, the holy god race, and the demon race. This situation made Xiao Chen feel a little surprised, and Liang Bing became even more nervous after coming out. After thinking about it for a while, Xiao Chen chose to come closer to see what happened. Did not expect. As soon as they arrived, they saw such a terrifying fight. The two powerful demigods were surrounded by a group of monsters and seemed to be in a desperate situation. The visual impact of this scene, compared to when he was fighting with Jun Alfang, Yi Tian and others, it was even worse. While Xiao Chen and others were looking at each other, the battle formation changed once again. Hua Yin's back wings were broken, and blood mist erupted from Sheng Lin's body. Destructive power. Once again, it wiped out many strong men who came close. Even the Heavenly Palace King and Heavenly Saint King who turned into monsters were like ants under the explosion of this power. This scene, Liang Bing, who was outside the formation, had a look of disbelief, and was even in a state of confusion. returning to the central region this time. She is ready to revive the evil demon race and seek revenge from Heavenly Palace King Yi and Heavenly Saint King Saint Emperor Yi. But she didn't expect to wait until she arrived in the Middle Territory. He actually saw that the two kings had turned into monsters, and now they were killed on the spot by their own divine child. This situation was something she never expected. Die to this devil. It didn't take long for Liang Bing to be shocked. Yuzhan's words echoed in the world, and the trident struck Hua Yin and Sheng Lin with devastating power. Hua Yin and Sheng Lin were at the end of their strength at this time, and were completely unable to parry against Yushuan's attack. All he could do was roar in despair. Zarp, this divine child is waiting for you at the divine domain. As the vicious roar echoed throughout the world, the two great descendants of the gods were killed by Yuzhan. But Yushuan doesn't feel good either. In the dying counterattack of Hua Yin and Sheng Lin, his body was also blasted to the point of collapse, and it seemed that he might fall at any time. But faced with such a situation, there was no worry on Yushuan's face. Instead, a crazy grin appeared, and his hands suddenly formed a seal. A terrifying suction force swept through the void like a hurricane. There are many body fragments of fallen strong men around, as well as corpse heart demon soul poison permeating the void. Everything was sucked into his body. This caused Yuzhan's originally broken body to swell as if it had taken hormones. Two horns sprouted from his head. Bone spurs grew out of his elbows and shoulders, a pair of wings stretched out like bat wings, and even a tail grew out of his butt. The terrifying demonic energy, accompanied by the infiltrating poisonous mist, exploded from Yushuan's body. The power was infinitely close to that of a true god. This is the purpose of Yushuan. On this trip, he came to kill Hua Yin and Sheng Lin, in addition to eliminating two mortal enemies. There is also the need to transform his physical body so that he has power that is infinitely close to the true god realm. With thousands of poisonous demon souls, smelting the flesh and blood essence of his clan through the corpse heart demon soul poison is enough to make his demonic body indestructible. Feeling the terrifying power surging within his body, Yushuan knew that this time he had made the right bet. What kind of monster is this guy? Looking at Yushuan, who was shouting to the sky and his body was rapidly mutating in the formation, the pupils of Zhongli, Lu Ruoxian and others kept shrinking. Such power. It is more terrifying than any demigod I have encountered before. Be prepared to fight. When everyone felt scared and oppressed, Xiao Chen stared at Yushuan and said something in a low voice. I originally wanted to hunt down the descendants of the gods in the central region, but I didn't expect that they would arrive a step too late. The powerful men of the Angel clan and the Holy God clan were actually obliterated by the evil demon race. There are even some powerful people who have turned into monster puppets. This evil demon race descendant is really not a simple character. Besides that guy, there are actually 6 demigods. After saying something to Zhongli and others, Xiao Chen glanced at Yuzhan and others. After the fight just now, whether it is the angel race, the holy god race, or the demon race, most of the powerful ones have fallen. As for those who survived, they were all reduced to monsters without self-awareness. His eyes were suspended in the void with scarlet eyes. Some of his body was still twisted, but his aura still looked very terrifying. Among the dozen or so figures, some exuded terrifying coercion, apparently possessing the strength of the demigod realm. 2 of them are between virtuality and reality, and their whole bodies are filled with permeating demonic energy. This is a semi-god realm evil spirit condensed from the demon hell demon gate. Originally there were 4 statues. However, in the fight just now, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin killed 2 of them, and the remaining souls returned to the demon sect and fell asleep. Besides, there is also a giant spirit corpse chief and an angel soldier, which have also reached the level of demigod. Even the demigod ancestors of the angel clan and the holy god clan are still alive. It's just that it has been eroded by the devil's poison and turned into a monster controlled by Yushuan. These guys in front of me. There are a total of 7 demigods and 12 emperors, and the lineup is much stronger than theirs. In the middle of checking for leaks, my mother-in-law suddenly came to the company and said that she couldn't stop at home and wanted to help. She warmed my heart, stomach and body. I burst into tears. This must be torture. After Xiao Chen finished speaking, Yushuan also completed his transformation at this time. The surrounding heaven and earth formation suddenly collapsed, and the demonic energy swept away like a tsunami. Dawson's cold gaze looked at Xiao Chen and others. Who are you? Cold and harsh words came from Yushuan's mouth. The temperature in this area is plummeting. As for the other strong men around them, they all roared and stared at Xiao Chen and others with scarlet eyes. It seems that all it takes is an order from Yuzan. They would pounce on each other and tear each other into pieces. Carlos, Tarmuto. Liang Bing saw the two figures among the monsters. His expression became extremely ugly at this moment, and he immediately looked at Yuzan. You bitcha. What did you do to the evil demon race? 98%. Chapter 473. Damn it, what kind of power do you have? Those figures in front of me. Astonishingly, they were several demon monarchs she was familiar with, including Louis, the fallen angel. Just these few people. Not only is his body covered in bruises now, he also looks like a walking zombie, a controlled puppet. Liang Bing didn't have a good impression of these two guys, Carlos and Luis. But Tarmuto has always been loyal to her father, and he has done his best for the demon clan, but he didn't expect that the other party would also become a demon puppet. This made Liang Bing furious. Haha, with the blood of a royal demon, how dare you be so wanton with me? After hearing Liang Bing's greeting, Yushuan's scarlet eyes fell on Liang Bing, and a murderous intent flashed across his face as he spoke. Immediately afterwards, there was no warning. When this murderous intention was revealed, many monsters around them roared. They all rushed toward Xiao Chen and others like mad dogs. This scene, the expressions of Xiao Chen and others changed. Didn't expect that at all. The evil demon race descendant in front of him was so decisive in his killing without any unnecessary communication. I just want to kill them all here. Kill. Fortunately, Xiao Chen and others were already ready for a fight. At the moment when many monsters came to kill them, Xiao Chen used his backhand to sacrifice the demigod realm cultivation experience card. After raising his own cultivation level to the semi-god realm, the 5 elements Shira spear appeared in his hand, and a bolt of thunder and fire spear light swept out instantly. Even Zhong Li, Mu Xuanyi and others on the side showed their cultivation without hesitation. The streams of divine ability turned into torrents and hit many monsters. Boom. As divine ability and many monsters collided with each other, the roar was like a roar from the sky that shook the surrounding area. However, the torrent of divine ability used by Xiao Chen and others only blocked the opponent for less than one breath. It was forcefully blasted away by the 6 demigod monsters headed by it. Many monsters once again approached Xiao Chen and his party. But faced with this situation, Xiao Chen didn't panic at this time, he just made a seal with one hand. 3 heavenly god mysterious mirrors floated into the air from behind him. Immediately afterwards, with the light shining between heaven and earth, Xiao Chen's 3 mirror clones, and everyone's mirror projection. Then they rushed out like a legion. This scene made Yushuan's scarlet eyes flash with surprise. Obviously, he didn't expect Xiao Chen to have such a trump card and be able to summon so many mirror projections at the same time. But it's not over yet. Almost as soon as the 3 Tianyuan Shenshuan mirrors blocked the void, a strange bone altar appeared at Xiao Chen's feet. As Xiao Chen stepped on the altar, the entire altar burst into endless light. 2 figures appeared strangely around the altar, exuding a terrifying aura of cultivation. That kind of cultivation aura is clearly that of a demigod. And this altar is the clan treasure of the Wanggu Jun family, the soldier soul and heroic spirit altar. But now it has been completely refined by him, and he has even strengthened and upgraded it. In addition to the existing demigod-level heroic spirit, Xiao Chen forcibly synthesized the remaining imperial heroic spirits and transformed into a more powerful demigod-level heroic spirit. Although it has been weakened in quantity. But 2 demigod-level heroic spirits are much stronger than 1 demigod and a few miscellaneous soldiers. In an instant, the 2 waves of people collided together again. Only this time, the 6 demigod monsters could no longer blast the divine ability of Xiao Chen and others, but were instead blasted away by Xiao Chen and others. After Xiao Chen unfolded multiple trump cards, it is already difficult to gain an advantage from the lineup with these monsters in front of them. Mirror-like sub-magical weapon. So you are the mysterious strong man from Eastern Domain who eliminated Jun Aofeng and others. You actually came to the Central Territory. When Xiao Chen and his team were repelling many monsters and preparing to put them down to kill them, hoarse words echoed in the world. Yushuan's wings vibrated and descended like a ghost, and the trident carried destructive power. Blow it to Xiao Chen's head. This made the hairs on Xiao Chen's body tremble and stand up, and he swung the 5 elements Shira spear and swept out without thinking. The spear was like a dragon sweeping across thousands of armies, and it struck with the trident in an instant. Between the collision of guns and halberds, the roar shook the world. The destructive force swept away centered on the 2 of them, surrounded by Zhongli and others, as well as numerous mirror projections. They were all blown away on the spot by this force. People like Tian Xingjian, Mu Wei, and others were all covered in blood, and a mouthful of reverse blood spurted out on the spot. They looked at Xiao Chen and Yuzan with extremely horrified eyes. Obviously didn't expect it. The aftermath of the collision between these two people almost severely injured them on the spot. The two people in front of me. How terrifying is the strength. I was too tired and lay down on the table to rest. I suddenly saw my mother-in-law walking in with a big belly. I was so frightened that I realized that I was dreaming, but I was still very panicked inside. You can actually take a halberd from this devil. You are indeed very powerful. His body retreated thousands of feet. Yushuan stared at Xiao Chen with stern eyes, exuding heavenly demon power all over his body. I like strong people. If you are willing to follow me, I can join forces with you to explore the biggest secret in Kanglan realm. As these two sentences echoed, many monster puppets stopped. It seemed to show Yushuan's sincerity. This made Zhongli, Mu Xuanyi and others stunned for a moment. Apparently, they didn't expect that this person wanted to directly kill their devil just now. He actually said such words at this time. Are you afraid of Xiao Chen's strength? Haha, you want me to follow you? Do you think you have the qualifications? Hearing Yushuan's shameless words, Xiao Chen just sneered slightly mockingly. Next moment, the chaos-purifying thunder fire spewed out like a volcano, and the shadow of the chaos ancestral dragon emerged behind him. A ray of gunlight carried the power of destruction, and it shot down at Yushuan in an instant. You ungrateful animal. Then don't blame me for sending you on your way. Seeing Xiao Chen's decisive refusal, Yushuan was also angered at this time. As his wings spread, the terrifying demonic energy swept across the sky and the sun, and then he held a trident and killed Xiao Chen. And many monster puppets. The moment Yushuan made his move, he roared and rushed towards everyone. Fighting broke out between heaven and earth again. And the intensity was not weaker than the war between the three clans that happened not long ago. Damn it, what kind of power do you have? As the two of them fought again, Yushuan couldn't help but roared angrily. He discovered that every time he collided with Xiao Chen, the power of thunder and fire surging in the other party was able to swallow up and purify the poisonous magic power in him. This discovery made him feel a little shocked and frightened. To know, he not only possesses the 10,000 poison demonic soul. It also integrated and combined the corpses of Hua Yin and many other powerful men, as well as the resentment and poisonous mist that filled the world. Its combat power can be said to be invincible in the demigod realm. But even so, Yushuan found that he could not suppress Xiao Chen in front of him, whether it was his combat power or his true energy attributes. He was even restrained by the other party. The opponent's strange power of thunder and fire can purify and devour his demonic energy every time he fights against him. This discovery made his hair stand on end. If the fighting continues like this, wouldn't his all-poisonous demonic energy be eaten away bit by bit? 98%. Chapter 474. How could there be such a terrifying demigod realm expert in Kanglan realm? We must fight quickly. After noticing this unfavorable factor, Yushuan made a prompt decision at this time, and his cultivation level exploded to the extreme in an instant. Boy, I admit that you are a bit strong, and you can restrain me in terms of attributes. But this demon is not something you can defeat after all. As these two sentences echoed, 10,000 poisonous magical powers soared into the sky like a volcano erupting, and a terrifying demonic shadow appeared behind Yushuan. Next moment, I saw Yushuan holding a trident. Like a Rakshasa god emerging from the abyss and purgatory, the void immediately collapsed and bombarded Xiao Chen. Such a terrifying offensive. Zhongli, Mu Xuanyi and others instinctively felt a life and death crisis during the fight. His expression couldn't help but change drastically. This halberd, it can definitely obliterate any one of them. How can this evil demon race descendant be so terrifying? Oh, an invincible existence. I think too highly of myself. Hearing Yuzan's words echoing between heaven and earth, Xiao Chen just sneered indifferently. Immediately afterwards, with the roar exploding in the void, the terrifying power of thunder and fire burst out from his body, and a majestic white-clothed shadow appeared behind him. The entire world became dim at this moment, as if it had returned to chaos in an instant. When Yushuan's halberd fell, Xiao Chen actually closed his eyes. The terrifying image of the chaos god killing 3,000 god-level warriors appeared in his mind. An indescribable killing intent, accompanied by a terrifying aura of chaos, swept away from Xiao Chen's body. Spear slashes shattering void empty. Just like a spear splitting the chaotic world, the spearlight met Yushuan's terrifying halberd. The moment the spears and halberds collided, there was no deafening roar that shook the world, but only silent devouring and annihilation. Such a weird scene. Yushuan's pupils couldn't help but shrink violently, and his face was even more twisted like a ghost. No, impossible. Next moment, as the sharp words came out of his mouth, Yushuan wanted to retreat without even thinking, to avoid Xiao Chen's invincible shot. But at the moment when the wings vibrated, the 5 elements Shira spear had already hit the trident, causing the trident to bend violently. Another blow hit him. In an instant, the roar resounded through the void, and black blood mist exploded from Yushuan's body. The chest burst and collapsed instantly. The whole person was blasted into the turbulent space by Xiao Chen as the void collapsed. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can he be so strong? At the moment when his body was blown away, there were only these 3 sentences in Yushuan's mind, and he was frightened to the point of death. I thought he could easily suppress this guy with his strongest halberd. But he never expected it. The shot fired by the opponent actually shattered his strongest blow into pieces on the spot. How could there be such a terrifying demigod realm expert in Kanglan realm? This moment, Yushuan was finally able to understand why Jun Aofeng, Yi Tian and others were eliminated by this person. The guy in front of me is simply a monster, absolutely invincible below the divine level. It's over. Just when many thoughts flashed through Yuzan's mind, he wanted to escape from this world like crazy. Xiao Chen's voice sounded calmly. Immediately afterwards, behind his body, I don't know when a mysterious soul lamp appeared. As the lamp flames swayed in the void, the soul fire swept across and exploded like a tsunami, hitting Yuzan's body in an instant. This made Yuzan let out a shrill roar. Even though the quality of his demonic soul was very high, it could not withstand the attack of the sub-divine soul weapon. It didn't take long for Yushuan to roar. A bit of gunlight was like a meteor streaking across the sky, at the moment when Yuzan was about to come back to his senses. Then it penetrated the other person's chest. Destructive power poured into the opponent's body, and the power of chaotic thunder and fire directly shattered Yushuan's internal organs, making Yushuan look at Xiao Chen in disbelief. In just a few rounds, he was killed by Xiao Chen. If he hadn't killed Hua Yin and Sheng Lin by himself before, he would have even doubted whether he was a good for nothing but a weakling. Who are you? In shock and confusion, Yushuan asked this question. However, Xiao Chen did not answer, but gave the other party a cold smile. The chaotic world purifying thunder fire and the immortal soul fire blasted into the opponent's sea of consciousness in an instant, trying to completely devour Yushuan's soul. However, when this destructive force poured into the sea of consciousness, Yushuan's soul suddenly burned itself in the sea of consciousness. Then it turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared, as if it had returned to the divine domain itself. This made Xiao Chen's eyes flash slightly, with a look of disappointment on his face. I originally wanted to capture the souls of these divine descendants and use the immortal soul lamp to devour and refine them. Let's see if we can get information about the many divine level forces outside Kanglan. Unexpectedly, the souls of these guys would self-destruct when they were killed. This actually made him feel a little depressed. There is always a solution to a problem. Now that I am eating this group of people, with my means and background, I may not be able to cope with all this. Shaked his head. Xiao Chen didn't think much about it. He put away Yushuan's body and weapons with his backhand, and then his eyes fell on the others. In the void, as Yushuan was beheaded by him, many monster puppets have also lost control. Although each one has become more bloodthirsty and cruel, the group has become disorganized. With the cooperation of Zhang Li, Mu Xuanyi and others, they were either killed or forcibly suppressed. The entire battlefield, after a short moment, he completely calmed down. This scene, it made Mu Xuanyi, Ji Yuzan and others feel unreal. Obviously not expecting it. The fight between the top experts can be so straightforward. I was still in shock when classmate Medusa walked in domineeringly, giving me an ominous premonition. Looking at her judge-like attire, did she want to judge me again? Husband, can these people be saved? At the moment when Xiao Chen's body fell, Liang Bing pointed at Carlos and Tarmuto, the demon kings, with a complex expression. These people are all senior members of the demon race clan, and every death of one of them is a great loss to the demon race. If they could be rescued, she hoped these people would be okay. Upon hearing this, Xiao Chen glanced at Tarmuto and the others, and he could tell the current status of these people at a glance. The soul of the sea of consciousness was eroded by the devil's poison, thus losing its self-awareness. The body was seriously injured and on the verge of collapse. But all these are just minor problems for him. When the thought falls, Xiao Chen came to Tarmuto, raised his hand and pressed it on the opponent's head. The chaotic world purifying thunder and fire poured into the opponent's sea of consciousness like a torrent. As Tarmuto roared in pain, bursts of strange black mist escaped from the opponent's body. After powerfully purifying the corpse heart demon soul poison, Xiao Chen thought about it and used the system to repair it, and Tarmuto returned to his original state. What happened? Where am I? As his soul and body were repaired, Tarmuto's consciousness returned to clarity. Looking a little confused, he found himself surrounded by a group of people, and the man in front of him was like a god. The aura emanating from his body almost suffocated him. 98%. Chapter 475. I actually wanted to save them just now, my head was really caught in my butt. Who are you? Tarmuto asked subconsciously while feeling horrified. But in the next moment, when he glanced at Liang Bing, his pupils couldn't help but shrink, with a look of disbelief on his face. Rio, Queen of Cool Ice. What's the situation? He actually saw Liang Bing. Didn't the other party disappear in the devil's blood pool? How could it suddenly appear in front of him? Besides, a group of them. Wasn't he controlled by a devil named Yuzan in the Abyss world? Why are you here now? In just a few moments, all kinds of questions flashed through Tarmuto's mind, making his head almost explode with confusion. Tall, it's my king. This king is back. This time, I will lead the demon race again into a new future. Seeing that Tarmuto had completely recovered, Liang Bing said with joy. Finished. Liang Bing looked at Xiao Chen. It is hoped that the latter can also revive several other demon monarchs. If not, she, the demon queen, and Tarmuto, the demon lord, could resurrect her father even later. Reviving and managing demon race is not an easy task either. Xiao Chen saw Liang Bing's gaze and understood what he meant, and immediately came to Carlos. Wait, don't save them. Just when Xiao Chen was about to start treatment, Tarmuto came back to his senses and immediately shouted to Xiao Chen and Liang Bing. These two guys are white-eyed wolves. They are ashamed of the cultivation of the Queen and the Lord of the Abyss. Saving them is just disgusting the Queen herself. Hearing Tarmuto's words, Xiao Chen and Liang Bing were slightly startled, and looked at the former together. White-eyed wolf, how is this going? Liang Bing's face darkened when he heard this, and he asked curiously. After the defeat of the demon clan more than 4,000 years ago, she was severely injured, fell into a coma, and was sealed into a pool of blood. She had no idea what happened next. Could it be during the period between her falling asleep and waking up? Evil demon race rebelled, before the queen disappeared. Louis and Carlos actually want to forcibly deprive the queen of her bloodline inheritance so that they can enter the 9th level of the emperor. Although our major monarchs are opposed to this matter, our strength cannot match them. After Liang Bing finished speaking, Tarmuto said truthfully. Before he could finish speaking, Liang Bing was furious. What? These two bitches actually want to refine me. Carlos was loyal to her father in the past, and he didn't rely on his elders to help her, but he didn't expect that this old guy wanted to refine her now. And Louis. In the past, he tried every means to please her and wanted to win her heart. Unexpectedly, after she was injured and fell asleep, the other party wanted to refine her. Except for this, the two of them also betrayed the entire demon race. Not only did he take the lead in surrendering to an evil demon race descendant named Yuxuan, he also personally hunted and killed tens of millions of demon people and had them sacrifice some kind of poison. But they never expected, after the poison is refined, we are the first to be controlled. When Liang Bing was furious after hearing this, Tarmuto continued to speak. Said, at this moment, he seemed to have thought of something, and looked at the group of people in front of him in horror. If he remembered correctly, he should now be a monster puppet controlled by Yuzan. But now he has been rescued. Is it possible that demon descendant named Yuzan has been killed by the group of people in front of him? These two bitches. I actually wanted to save them just now. My head was really pinched by my butt. After hearing what Tarmuto said, Liang Bing couldn't help but put on a mask of pain, and beautiful words kept coming out of his mouth. Tarmuto has always been loyal. They are even willing to sacrifice their lives for the evil demon race, and they will not lie about right and wrong. So Liang Bing did not doubt the authenticity of what the other party said. After all, Carlos and Luis. In the past, she had a sense of ambition, and she liked to go against her on certain things. But I am thinking of being a senior member of the ethnic group. For the evil demon race, they all play a key role. Both she and her father just turned a blind eye. Seeing the miserable appearance of the two of them now, she still thought about asking Xiao Chen to rescue them, but she didn't expect that these two people would be so shameless. After cursing, Liang Bing still felt a little upset at this time, and immediately exploded his cultivation power on the two of them. In just a few moments, with a cry of blue, Liang Bing ended the pain of Carlos and Luis and sent them both to hell to repent. This scene made Tarmuto feel a little stunned. After a trial, classmate Medusa was very satisfied with my hardworking attitude and said that I was a model worker. She would give me a few days off, which made me a little confused. Where are these two guys? After killing Luis and Carlos, Liang Bing pointed at the two remaining demon monarchs and asked Tarmuto. That cold voice and the murderous intent all over his body. It made Tarmuto feel excited all over. Back to the queen, the two of them are relatively peaceful and did not participate in Carlos and Luis's affairs. After hearing Tarmuto's words, Liang Bing breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. It seems, evil demon race executives are still loyal to her and her father. Husband, I'm sorry to bother you. Feeling a little relieved, Liang Bing turned around and looked at Xiao Chen, showing a rare tenderness. This scene, and this sentence, Tarmuto was instantly stunned. Damn it, husband, the queen has a husband. If he remembered correctly, it had only been less than 3 months since Liang Bing disappeared. In such a short period of time, the other party has a husband. And looking at the situation in front of him, Queen Liangbing's husband seems to have other beauties. This completely shattered Tarmuto's cognition. Xiao Chen didn't know how shocked Tarmuto was. After Liang Bing spoke, he came to the two demon monarchs. He followed the same method as he used to treat Tarmuto, and both demon monarchs were cured in a few strokes. Such an outrageous method made Tarmuto stupid again. Tall, where is my father's birthright, emperor weapon? After beating the two demon monarchs, they and Tarmuto thanked Xiao Chen for saving his life. Liang Bing asked nervously, this time I came to the central region. In addition to reviving the evil demon race, there is also the need to resurrect her father, Kars, the Lord of the Abyss. However, if Xiao Chen wants to resurrect others, he must have a trace of his life. It can be flesh and blood corpses, or it can be natal objects. For cultivators, the most common natal object is the natal weapon. To the queen, Tar doesn't know. After hearing Liang Bing's words, Tarmuto looked ashamed. After he was controlled by Yuzan, there was a gap in his memory. I don't remember what happened in the Abyss world. It should be this one. Just when Liang Bing's expression changed after hearing this, Xiao Chen took out a magic sword, and the terrifying magic power spread out. Abyss demonic sword. Liang Bing's face lit up when he saw this magic sword. This was her father's true destiny, emperor weapon. Unexpectedly, this emperor weapon was actually in Xiao Chen's hands. He must have found it from Yushuan's ring. After Xiao Chen confirmed it, he didn't waste any time and immediately ordered the system to resurrect Carl's. 99%. Chapter 476. Could it be that his daughter also died? Ding. The system has deducted 100 million points and is resurrecting the Lord of the Abyss, Kars, for the host. As the system prompt sounded, a burst of white light flashed. A shocking roar sounded in the void. In front of Xiao Chen and others, a vortex suddenly appeared, and the aura of life and death swept across the world. Next moment, under the gaze of everyone, a figure with a majestic head and a figure of nearly 9 feet, with a series of magic lines on his body, also appeared in front of the group of people. This person is none other than Kars, the Lord of the Abyss. He is also Liang Bing's biological father. Demon Lord. Seeing this familiar figure in front of them, Tarmuto and the other two demon monarchs' eyes almost bulged out at this moment. They just heard that Liang Bing asked for Carl's life, the emperor weapon, and they thought they just wanted to retrieve this relic. Did not expect, actually want to use this emperor weapon to resurrect the dead Kars. Is the man in front of me a god? Can you actually ignore the laws of heaven and earth and resurrect the dead? What am I? While Tarmuto and others were horrified, Kars also looked confused after being resurrected. He remembered that he had sealed the entrance to the Abyss world with the Abyss demonic sword. He was also likely to die at any time due to his severe injuries, and Liang Bing had his heart pierced and his soul severely damaged at that time. In the end, he had no choice but to sacrifice himself. He passed down his lifelong cultivation through the demon bloodline and sealed it into Liang Bing's body, while he himself was destroyed physically and mentally. Logically speaking, He didn't even have a trace of his soul left, so how could he still feel the world now? Father, welcome back. Just when Carls felt a little confused, Liang Bing came to the other party and said something in a low voice. This made Carls's body shake violently, and his eyes looked over in disbelief. Liang Bing. Seeing Liang Bing, his biological daughter, Carl's head was buzzing. Is it possible? His daughter also died. Now the father and daughter are reunited in the underworld. Tal pays homage to the demon lord. Just when Carl's thoughts emerged, Tarmuto and the other two demon monarchs knelt in front of Carl's. Although at this time, Carls's body no longer had any fluctuations in cultivation. But in their minds, the other party is still the demon lord of the abyss world. Tal, Mefi, Zoro. Seeing Tarmuto and the other two demon monarchs, Kars was even more confused at this time. Also aware of a possibility. That means he's not dead yet. When the thought emerged, Kars's eyes swept across the sky and the earth, only to realize that there were only Liang Bing, Tal and others in the void. There is actually a large group of humans. And he has no cultivation at all now. Father, you are actually dead, but you were resurrected. Seeing Carl's confused face, Liang Bing didn't give in at this time. Immediately, he used the most concise words to describe everything, and also introduced Xiao Chen and others. It is now more than 4,000 years later. The descendant of the gods. The three clans are fighting. Husband, Xiao Chen. After hearing all this from Liang Bing, Carl's eyes were as wide as bells. Obviously didn't expect it. He has been dead for more than 4,000 years, and the evil demon race is still controlled by the goddess. And his own daughter. Over the years, his injuries have recovered, his cultivation has reached the 7th level of the emperor, and he has even found a husband. Not only did he travel hundreds of millions of miles from the eastern domain to the central domain, kill the descendant and save Tal and others, he also resurrected his father-in-law. All these things. Even though Kars was the lord of the abyss for a generation, his mind was still shocked and confused. Ha ha ha, you are indeed my daughter, Carls. Liang Bing, you are really good. After being stunned for a while, Carls laughed wildly to vent his inner excitement and relief. Then his eyes fell on Xiao Chen again, and his expression became a little nervous and restrained at this time. The friendship between children is like rekindling kindness. Anchors will definitely remember this in his heart and will definitely repay it if there is an opportunity in the future. These words, Xiao Chen suddenly burst into laughter. Senior, you're welcome. Since you are Liang Bing's father, you are also Xiao Chen's elder. You don't need to take this sentiment too seriously. Xiao Chen waved his hand, looking unconcerned. After all, it only takes 100 million points to resurrect a person. And with his current wealth and ability, 100 million points is really nothing. Elder. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Kars couldn't help but be stunned. Obviously didn't expect it. This mysterious man with heaven-defying abilities was so polite to him and even called him his elder. At no point did he place himself at an unattainable height just because of his own strength and means. This surprised Carls. Ha ha ha, since you don't care, I will call you a good son-in-law from now on. After being stunned for a moment, Carls burst out laughing immediately, making Liang Bing feel a little embarrassed. Having such an incredible man as a good son-in-law is definitely the highlight of his life. If it weren't for the fact that he only had one daughter, Liang Bing, he would have wanted to give Xiao Chen a few more daughters so that the demon race clan could flourish. Senior, you're welcome. Hearing what Carl said, Xiao Chen also smiled in return. Just a few words of conversation. His impression of this father-in-law was quite good. Although he is the leader of the demon clan. But he doesn't seem to be a selfish and cunning person. On the contrary, his words and deeds reveal a kind of heroism, which makes him much easier to get along with than some hypocritical people. Next, after some simple politeness, Xiao Chen and his party did not stay in the void, but drove the two-headed dragon chariot to the abyss world. Now there is fighting and chaos all over the central territory. The top leaders of the Angel Clan and the Holy God Clan have all fallen. The only thing left to do next is to rectify all the forces of the demon race and bring the central territory completely under their control. And there is. This time, he killed Yushuan and others, causing Xiao Chen's net worth to skyrocket again. He already has enough resources to revive Bo Ruoxi. But not before that. You still have to improve your strength as much as possible. After all, the frequent movements of the great descendants of the gods and the increasingly intense resentment between heaven and earth made him feel that the world was about to change. Talking about a holiday, it turns out that my aunt is here and she wants to drag me to the hospital. She wants to give me some medicine to replenish my health and to take a look at my sister-in-law. I can't be idle, right? On the other side, outside Kanglan, it was still the familiar altar of divine descent, and the two figures opened their eyes almost at the same time. Yushuan of a dog's day, I draft the ancestor. In the midst of angry curses, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin both spat out a large mouthful of blood, their faces showing resentment, unwillingness, fear and other emotions. Hua Yin, divine child of the angel clan, and divine child of the holy god clan, are out. And as the two people's voices echoed, a cold voice also echoed on the altar of divine descending, which made both Hua Yin and Sheng Lin look ashen. Next moment, the divine king of the angel race and the divine king of the holy god race opened their eyes together, and their gazes fell on Hua Yin and Sheng Lin. The terrifying pressure fell down like a collapse of the sky. What happened? The majestic words were filled with indifference to the common people, causing Hua Yin and Sheng Lin to tremble. There was also a look of fear on his face. If they can't give a reasonable explanation, I'm afraid it won't end well in the future. 99%. Chapter 477 The Horror of Many Divine Kings. Xiao Chen was shot while lying down. It's evil demon race. They don't know what means they used to bring a ray of corpse heart demon soul poison into Kanglan realm. Even if our two major clans join forces, they will be set up by each other. None of this is our fault. After hearing the questions from the two divine king ancestors, Hua Yin and Sheng Lin both looked frightened. He quickly put all the responsibility on Yuzan. In their view, if it weren't for this wisp of corpse heart demon soul poison, it would definitely be Yushuan who would be eliminated in the end. But it was this corpse heart demon soul poison that made both of them lose all their previous efforts. Corpse heart demonic soul poison. After hearing the words of Hua Yin and Sheng Lin, the divine king of the angel race and the divine king of the holy god race frowned. They thought these two people. He was also eliminated by that mysterious native, but unexpectedly he fell into the hands of the evil demon race. This surprised them. Certainly. After the surprise, there was overwhelming anger. Waste. Two great descendants joined forces and actually fell into trouble. How dare you put all the blame on the enemy? In rage, the divine king of the angel clan and the divine king of the holy god clan said angrily at the same time, and two rays of divine light struck Hua Yin and Sheng Lin, causing the two of them to let out a shrill roar at this time. This is the successor to Jun Alfeng, Yu Lingyun, Yi Tian and others among the 18 descendants. Two more unlucky people suffered the wrath of their ancestors, but neither Hua Yin nor Sheng Lin dared to resent their ancestors, and could only bear all their resentment on Yuzan. They swear, one day, when Yuzan returns to divine domain again, this guy must pay the price. I remember, in this divine chess game, many divine descendants are not allowed to carry any auxiliary foreign objects exceeding the divine level except for entering the Kanglan realm with their souls. And you evil demon race clan dare to violate this rule. As this contempt for our other 17 major forces. After punishing Wadian and Shengalin, the divine king of the angel race and the divine king of the holy god race have their eyes fixed on the demon race divine king. As the cold words echoed across the heaven and earth, the terrifying divine power also filled the starry sky for hundreds of millions of miles. Haha, you two, please don't blame me. I can't bear this crime. Hearing the words of the two divine kings, the evil demon race divine king opened his eyes and replied with a slightly mocking voice. 18 great descendants of the gods need to be inspected by everyone before entering the Kanglan realm. Do you think I have the ability to hide from you 17 divine kings at the same time? Naked ridicule. The two divine kings frowned and their expressions became a little gloomy. Really, although the old ghost in front of him is somewhat extraordinary, he is only at the late stage level of the divine king. It is almost impossible to hide from 17 divine kings at the same time. But even so, there is no guarantee that the other party will not use any special means. When I arrived at the hospital, before my sister-in-law could see her, she saw Sister Tang Yin. She said that my body was strained and I had to go into the ward with her for in-depth treatment. This would make me feel better faster and I was numb. No, I'm not willing to give in. Just when the atmosphere at the god's descending altar became a little tense, the screams of Hua Yin and Sheng Lin were still echoing. Among the many descendants of the gods, a man in black suddenly opened his eyes, roared with extreme unwillingness, and then spit out a mouthful of blood. Evil demon race Yugen, out. Almost as the man spurted out blood, the cold voice resounded through the starry sky again, which made many divine kings look surprised. obviously didn't expect it. This fierce man who had just eliminated the angel tribe and the divine child from the holy god tribe would actually be eliminated right after the two of them. Is it possible? This guy was also tricked. Yuxuan, what's going on? When many divine kings were surprised, the evil demon race divine king immediately asked. I just heard that the opponent eliminated the divine child from two major clans in one go. He is quite proud. Unexpectedly, after only 10 or 20 breaths had passed, Yuxuan was now being eliminated. This was unexpected for him. It's the mysterious native from the eastern domain. He came to the central domain for some unknown reason, and his strength is beyond my imagination. I can guarantee, of all the descendants who have entered the Kanglan realm this time, absolutely no one can be a match for this guy. After hearing his ancestor's question, Yuxuan took a deep breath and replied without any evasion in his words. Instead, he simply admitted his defeat, his expression full of shock and fear towards Xiao Chen. After saying that, before the demon race divine king could speak, Yuzan knelt on one knee on the altar. Yuxuan has failed the ancestors' high expectations, so please punish him. There is no escape, an out is an out. He failed to live up to the high expectations of the evil demon race and deserved to be punished accordingly. Get up. Compared to the loser who was eliminated after 2 against 1, you have done a very good job. When Yuzan finished speaking, the evil demon race divine king did not become furious and punish him, but instead mocked him carelessly. This made the divine king of the angel clan and the divine king of the holy god clan look extremely ugly. He could only vent his anger on Hua Yin and Sheng Lin, causing these two guys to scream shrilly for a while. And there are other divine kings around. After hearing Yuxuan's words, everyone started to pass the message with solemn expressions. Hard to believe. In just a few days, 6 of the 18 great descendants were eliminated. It seems that this mysterious native of Kanglan realm is destined to become the biggest variable in this game of chess. What? That guy not only went to the central territory, but also eliminated 3 divine generals. Kanglanji, Eastern Domain. After receiving the message from his ancestor, Ji Mengju raised his head in shock. Recently, although he sent people to keep an eye on Wanxin City, he did not dare to keep an eye on him too closely, for fear that the other party would target him. Unexpectedly, not even 5 days, the opponent not only disappeared into Wanxin City, but also went to the central region and eliminated the 3 great descendants. Is this guy still a normal person? What Ji Mengju didn't know was that Xiao Chen only eliminated Yuxuan. But in order to make him realize the seriousness of the matter, the divine king of the Ji family counted the heads of Hua Yin and Sheng Lin on Xiao Chen's body. This actually made Xiao Chen feel inexplicably lying on his back. No, I can't drag it out any longer, I have to take some action. If we hadn't waited for this guy to return from the central region, Beast Race and I, those 3 idiots, would most likely have become each other's targets. We must take advantage of the opponent's return to the eastern domain to cause more killings and cause spiritual resentment. This way, as long as there is enough resentment between the heaven and the earth to cause turmoil in the formation and allow the Dao Seal Temple to be born, the remaining divine descendants will naturally gather together. Even if this kid's combat power is astonishing, he will not be the enemy of many divine children. This is the thought. Ji Mengju did not hesitate and immediately issued instructions one after another. He even contacted beast race divine child such as Ao Chengthan. An even more terrifying bloody storm swept across the entire eastern domain in an instant. It's not even just the eastern domain. In the northern territory, Nanzhou, and western territory, after receiving the message from their ancestors, other descendants of the gods started to fight frantically in shock. Trying to speed up the weakening of the seal of heaven and earth so that the Daoyan temple can be born in advance. 99%. Chapter 478 Husband. He is not the kind of person who is attracted by sex. Abyssal World. When a more brutal fighting broke out in the Kanglan world, Xiao Chen and his party also came to the Abyss world. After a brief explanation, under the arrangement of Carls and others, Xiao Chen came to a secluded devil's palace. But Liang Bing did not follow. Instead, he followed Tianxi, Tarmuto and others to deal with the troubles in the Abyss world. After all, she is the demon queen, and now that the demon race is in chaos, it is not a time for pleasure. The points reached more than 286 billion, and the spiritual crystals reached more than 646 billion. These guys are indeed fat sheep. After spending half an hour sorting out all the loot, Xiao Chen looked at the skyrocketing points value on the attribute panel and the spiritual crystals piled up into mountains in the system space. There was a look of emotion on his face. When coming to the Central Territory, he was still worried about whether to revive Bo Ruoxi. After all, repairing it would easily cost 90 billion points. Not everyone can bear this. But now, he has a lot of points. When the thought falls, Xiao Chen closed his eyes, and his soul sank into the system space, entering the Tianyuan Shenzhen mirror on which Bo Ruoxi was placed. This scene, Kaiyan, Lu Ruoxian and others' eyes narrowed slightly. However, few people said anything, only Mu Xuanyi's face showed confusion. What is he doing? Feeling a little confused in her heart, Mu Xuanyi asked Zhang Li. Originally, when Xiao Chen entered the palace, she didn't want to follow him. But his arms couldn't hold his thighs. She was eventually pulled in by Zhang Li, saying that she could have more access to Xiao Chen's secrets. That's why she appeared in the hall. But from entering to now, she only saw Xiao Chen sorting the trophies and throwing one or two things to them from time to time. The so-called secret was not discovered. Seeing Xiao Chen like this made her feel a little curious. Not sure. It's probably the white-haired beauty who I just picked up from a private meeting. Zhang Li curled her lips when she heard this and answered without hesitation. This made Mu Xuanyi look slightly startled. Immediately afterwards, as if she thought of something, her pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly, and she looked at Zhang Li in shock. You mean, he plans to break the divine crystal while the woman he picked up from the divine domain is still sleeping, and something special will happen to her? Puff. Hearing Mu Xuanyi's 2 words, Zhang Li almost choked to death on her saliva. Obviously, he didn't expect Mu Xuanyi's brain circuit to be so strange. Even Lu Ruoxian, Kaiyan and others looked at him with strange expressions, which made Mu Xuanyi feel a little embarrassed. Husband, you should be the one who goes in to revive the woman. He is not the kind of person who is attracted by sex. When Mu Xuanyi felt embarrassed, Kaiyan spoke calmly. This made Mu Xuanyi even more embarrassed and ashamed. At the same time, inside the Tianyuan Shenzhen mirror, Xiao Chen's projection also condensed and landed directly in front of Bo Ruoxi. Judging from the identification information, this girl values love and justice. I hope her personality isn't too cold, otherwise she won't be easy to get in touch with. Looking at Bo Ruoxi sleeping in the divine crystal, Xiao Chen murmured in a low voice. Next moment, Xiao Chen didn't hesitate anymore, came to the front of Shenzhen, raised his hand and pressed it on the huge sapphire. System, repair her injuries. Ding. The system has deducted 89.7 billion points and is repairing the character Bo Ruoxi for the host. Almost as soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, the system prompt sounded. A burst of dazzling white light shone throughout the mirror world. Bo Ruoxi, who was sleeping in the divine crystal, had her eyelashes trembling slightly at this moment. All the injuries on her body mysteriously disappeared. An indescribable terrifying aura swept across like a storm in an instant, causing Xiao Chen's expression to change dramatically. The soul projection almost collapsed. Fortunately, he brought the immortal soul lamp in this time, otherwise he would not be able to maintain his body in this kind of aura. Xiao Chen didn't wait for how long he was frightened. The divine crystal that originally covered Bo Ruoxi's body melted like ice and snow. It turned into vast divine power and poured into Bo Ruoxi's body. This also caused the divine aura that filled the world in the mirror to surge. The void kept exploding and exploding. It's like he can't bear this kind of terrifying existence. Fortunately, this Tianyuan Shenzhen mirror has been brought into the system space by Xiao Chen, completely cutting off the perception of heaven and earth. Otherwise, this burst of aura alone is enough to change the sky in Kanglan realm, and heavenly scourges will rain down from thousands of miles of void to destroy the source of the aura. However, this aura did not last long. As all the divine crystals turned into liquid and flowed into Bo Ruoxi's body, the divine aura that permeated the world in the mirror also disappeared. After an in-depth examination, Sister Tang Yin said that my internal fire was strong and that ordinary physical therapy was not enough to detoxify. Acupuncture was necessary, but she couldn't handle it alone and had to call in another junior sister. You saved me. Bo Ruoxi slowly opened her eyes. Her jade feet exuded a crystal luster and were suspended 3 inches above the ground. He looked at Xiao Chen curiously. Originally based on her injuries. Even if you use a secret method to seal yourself into self-repair, it will take another 10,000 years to fully recover. Unexpectedly, when the injury has not recovered 30%, the remaining injuries were completely recovered in an instant, which made Bo Ruoxi look in disbelief despite being stunned. Well, I see that you are a bit seriously injured, so I will help you treat it. Seeing that there was no blood in front of her, her whole body was covered with white gauze, like a snow girl. Xiao Chen nodded calmly, and his mind started to work crazily. Now that he had treated Bo Ruoxi's injuries and revived him from his slumber, he had to find a way to keep him. Otherwise, these 89.7 billion points will be wasted. Emperor Realm cultivation level. And when Xiao Chen's thoughts were turning, Bo Ruoxi also made waves in her heart. She had reached the peak of the divine sovereign realm. Even if she was injured and her cultivation dropped, she could still see through Xiao Chen's state at a glance. This state of the soul. It is clear that he has not experienced the divine tribulation of heaven and earth, igniting the divine fire to transform his soul. That is to say, the mysterious man in front of her who could heal her injuries was actually a weakling who had never even set foot in the realm of true gods. How can this be? How can creatures below the divine realm heal the divine king? Although your injuries have recovered, your cultivation has not yet returned to its peak. In the next period of time, why don't you stay here to recuperate and recover? After a moment of silence, Xiao Chen took the lead to break the deadlock and spoke bluntly to Bo Ruoxi. This made Bo Ruoxi's eyes freeze, her beautiful eyes swept over Xiao Chen's body, and she spoke in a calm voice. Young master, do you want to imprison me? After saying something with interest, Bo Ruoxi glanced around. Although this mirror is somewhat special, its quality only reaches sub-divine level. If she wanted it, a single thought could destroy it. It's just that Xiao Chen saved her life, and she is not an ungrateful person. At this time, she wants to see what Xiao Chen wants to do. 99%. Chapter 479. Could it be that she fell into the hands of an acquaintance? It's not about being imprisoned. Although you have not yet returned to your peak state, you can now display your divine king level combat power. It's easy to leave with this kind of strength, and I don't have the ability to keep you here. Only, you are now in a great thousand world. Going out will cause a backlash in this world. But with your strength, maybe you don't have to be afraid. But there are still some kind of restrictions in this world, and there are some divine level forces outside the territory that are watching covetously. Your current identity is relatively sensitive. Once exposed, your junior sister will definitely be attracted. At that time, you are likely to be chased to death by several powerful gods. Take advantage of the system authentication feature. After identifying Bo Ruoxi's information again, Xiao Chen talked a lot in a pretentious manner. This made Bo Ruoxi's pupils shrink sharply, and she stared at Xiao Chen very sharply. You know me. These words, it seemed to indicate that the other party not only knew her specific identity, but also knew that she had been betrayed by her junior sister. This made Bo Ruoxi's heart sink. Is it possible? Has she fallen into the hands of an acquaintance? Don't be nervous. I have no ill intentions towards you, and I have never met you. The reason why I know this is that I know a little deduction method and can see some of the past of all things in the world. Seeing Bo Ruoxi's expression becoming nervous and wary, Xiao Chen waved his hand and said inscrutably. It's not that he wants to show off, but he has to say it. After all, the other party is a high-ranking divine king, and he can be killed tens of thousands of times by just sneezing. Even if he saved Bo Ruoxi's life, he would have a certain favor with her. It will still put him in a passive situation. I want to rely on sincerity between people and the grace of saving lives to restrain Bo Ruoxi. The risk is still too great. Therefore, Xiao Chen must do some packaging to make himself more mysterious and powerful in order to intimidate this powerful divine king. Do you know how to deduce? After Xiao Chen finished speaking, Bo Ruoxi's eyes narrowed, looking a little uncertain. At this time, I also felt a little curious and uncertain. Your name is Bo Ruoxi. He is the palace master of the Blue World Ice Sea God Palace. His cultivation has reached the peak of the Divine Lord realm. He is 169,365 years old. 13,836 years ago, you found the Ice Sea Realm Divine Bead, a relic of your ancestors, in the Chaos Realm Sea, and you wanted to refine it to see if you could use it to impact the Emperor Realm. Unexpectedly, your junior sister Lan Xuanji noticed something unusual, so she teamed up with her concubine Huiyan Shenzhen and several other powerful people in the Shenzhen realm. Forcibly breaking through the seclusion while you were in seclusion caused you to fail to break through. You could only temporarily seal the Ice Sea God Pearl in the inner world, and then severely injured the 7 gods and escaped from the Ice Sea God Palace using a secret method. Later, you chose to seal yourself because you were too injured. You have been sleeping until now, and you were accidentally picked up by me. After seeing Bo Ruoxi's surprised look, Xiao Chen roughly told the other party's story. This made Bo Ruoxi's mind feel like there was a roar. Looking at Xiao Chen with an expression of disbelief, even his chi became a little disordered. Ice Sea World Divine Bead. This was indeed what she found in the Chaos Star Sea, and was also lost by an ancestor of Bing Sea God Palace. But this thing, only she knows from beginning to end. After getting the Ice Sea Realm God Pearl, she didn't tell anyone, including her junior sister Lan Xuanji. The other person just knows. She got some great opportunity in the Sea of Chaos, and there was a certain degree of certainty that she could break through the realm. To avoid it in the future. Being suppressed by her senior sister and never able to recover, she chose to join forces with outsiders and several other elders to kill her by force while she was in seclusion. I just didn't expect that she would escape in the end. But that's not the point. The point is, these secrets that only she should know were now accurately revealed by Xiao Chen. This completely shocked Bo Ruoxi. Not only does the other party have incredible repair abilities, he can heal her injuries in an instant, and he can even see through the secrets of her past. This young master is definitely not as simple as he seems on the surface. For a while Bo Ruoxi felt curious, she also felt unprecedented solemnity. But Bo Ruoxi was still more alert at this time, and her soul immediately sensed it. It was very easy to break through the blockade of Tianyuan Shenshuan realm. Just in the next moment, she felt that she had entered a vast and endless void space. Apart from some spiritual crystal treasures, she could not sense the breath of any living beings. Even the space was so huge that it had no boundaries, which caused her expression to change instantly. It's like a prison of nothingness. Is she imprisoned? Not long after, Ning Rongrong, Sister Tang Yin's junior sister, came. Seeing her innocent face, obviously she had not practiced before, I was really afraid that I would be killed if I stabbed her in the wrong place. Don't be nervous. The outside of the mirror is just a storage space for me, which can isolate the divine aura from you. He saw the change in Bo Ruoxi's complexion and sensed the fluctuations in his soul. Xiao Chen knew without thinking that the other party had misunderstood. He immediately opened his mouth to explain. When you can perfectly control the divine aura in your body, I can let you out at any time if you want to. It's just that you can't leave this world for the time being, otherwise it will definitely cause big trouble. If he wanted to restrain the opponent with brute force, Xiao Chen couldn't do it at this time. Only hope. This powerful divine king is not very eager for revenge. With the increase in favorability of the system and the mystery he displayed, Bo Ruoxi can be kept temporarily. I can now perfectly control my divine aura. When Xiao Chen finished speaking, Bo Ruoxi suddenly spoke. The meaning behind the words is self-evident. That is why she now wants to go to the outside world to take a look, so that she can be sure whether Xiao Chen is lying to her. Since you want to go out, let's go out together. Xiao Chen also understood the other party's concerns after hearing this, and did not reject Bo Ruoxi's suggestion. After all, being locked up in the system space is indeed like being imprisoned. What's more, Bo Ruoxi is also a female divine monarch. As clear as jade, it can be called the supreme grade. It is completely impossible not to have worries in your heart. Next moment, as Xiao Chen finished speaking, the world in the mirror became distorted. Xiao Chen's soul projection disappeared, and his consciousness returned directly to his sea of consciousness soul body. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. When Qian and others saw this, their expressions lit up and they were about to ask something. He directly summoned the Tianyuan Shenzhen mirror to release Bo Ruoxi from the mirror world. Accompanied by the flash of white light. Seeing a beautiful white-haired figure appear in the hall, her cold temperament caused the temperature of the air to plummet. Qian, Lu Ruoxian and others. Each of the pupils shrank violently, staring at Bo Ruoxi. Pressure. Unprecedented pressure. Although when Bo Ruoxi was just picked up by Xiao Chen, they had already seen each other's true appearance through the divine crystal. But at that time, Bo Ruoxi was severely injured and fell into a deep sleep, unable to intuitively show her peerless appearance. And now, the other party not only woke up from his deep sleep, but also recovered from his injuries. Her white hair is flowing and her face is beautiful. Especially the cold temperament that looked like ice lotuses blooming on top of the snow made Qian, Lu Ruoxian and others unable to help but feel a sense of astonishment. Unimaginable. There are still women in this world who can put them under such great pressure. She truly deserves to be a woman from divine domain. 99%. Chapter 480. If you don't compensate as well in a few days, you won't have it so easy in the future. while Kyan, Lu Ruoxian and others were looking at Bo Ruoxi. The latter's eyes also fell on the group of people. Seeing so many beautiful women in front of me, all of them have looks and figures that are not inferior to hers, but they lack a kind of aloof and divine temperament. But Bo Ruoxi had no doubts. If these women in front of her break through to the divine realm, their temperament will definitely not be much weaker than hers. There are so many beauties around this young master. It seems that the other party is a romantic man who likes minced meat. For a moment, after seeing Kyan, Lu Ruoxian and others, Bo Ruoxi automatically tagged Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen knew about this, he would definitely hold the other person in his arms and scream that he was wronged. It's not his fault that there are so many beautiful women around him. Half of them were picked up by the system, and the other half were actually due to his popularity with women. Plus these women are so cool. Everyone is born with a bad character, and he is forced to drive a pile. Don't stare, say hello and get to know each other. Xiao Chen didn't know what Bo Ruoxi was thinking, and felt that the atmosphere in the hall was a bit awkward. He said with a smile. Then he introduced Kyan and others to Bo Ruoxi, and briefly mentioned Bo Ruoxi's origin. But due to Bo Ruoxi's identity, Kyan, Lu Ruoxian and others just said hello politely and didn't talk much after that. This is not because Kyan, Lu Ruoxian and others consider themselves noble. After feeling the sense of crisis from Bo Ruoxi, several people planned to join forces to exclude this divine king. But the pressure the other party gave them was too strong. A strong woman from the divine domain can destroy the Kanglan realm with a snap of her fingers. The sense of distance caused by the disparity in strength cannot be easily resolved by contact. This is an abyss world in the Kanglan realm. As for whether there is anything strange about this world, it shouldn't be difficult to feel it based on your strength. Seemingly feeling that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Xiao Chen changed the subject and said to Bo Ruoxi. After he finished speaking, Bo Ruoxi's eyes narrowed slightly, and her soul thoughts covered the entire Kanglan realm almost in an instant. Feel it. After there was indeed a heaven and earth restriction in this world, she couldn't help but frown, and a solemn look appeared on her face. God Monarch levels restriction of heaven and earth. After realizing the extraordinary nature of this heaven and earth restriction, Bo Ruoxi also withdrew her soul perception at this time. As Xiao Chen said, there are really restrictions in this world, and there are powerful people outside the territory who are watching. 18 waves of divine king realm powerhouses. Such a lineup. If her cultivation was at its peak, the other party wouldn't even have the qualifications to let her take another look. But now, for the time being, she could only exert her divine king level combat power, but there was no way she could deal with 18 divine kings at the same time. How about it? You shouldn't feel that this young master is deceiving you now, right? Seeing Bo Ruoxi frown slightly, Xiao Chen asked with a faint smile. This made a flash of embarrassment flash across Bo Ruoxi's face. But it soon calmed down. Since there is something unusual about this world, Ruoxi will follow what young master said and stay in this world for the time being to recover her cultivation. After confirming that Xiao Chen really had good intentions towards her and was not trying to imprison her in disguise, Bo Ruoxi didn't put on any airs. After saying something in a calm voice, the figure disappeared into the hall. It seemed that he felt that his presence would put pressure on Lu Ruoxian and others, so he went to find a place to relax. Sure enough, because this junior sister Ning Rongrong was inexperienced, she couldn't cooperate during the operation, and she accidentally pricked her blood. Since she made a mistake for the first time, I forgive her. Phew, what a terrifying sense of oppression. Is this the powerful man from the divine domain? It's clear that the divine aura is not released, but it makes people feel a strong sense of suffocation. The moment Bo Ruoxi disappeared, Zhang Li, Lu Ruoxian and others couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and even reached out to pat the murderous thing on their chests. It seemed that I was really overwhelmed by an invisible aura just now. Husband, what level of power is she? When Zhang Li's green hand fell, making Shifeng tremble, Lu Ruoxian asked curiously. Just now Xiao Chen introduced Bo Ruoxi without mentioning her cultivation level. This made her curious. Xiao Chen couldn't see through the other person's cultivation level, or he was afraid that telling them would irritate them. When she was at her strongest, she was at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. After hearing Lu Ruoxian's words, Xiao Chen was silent for a while and then said. But Lu Ruoxian and others were confused. Obviously, he doesn't know what kind of realm this divine king realm is. To put it simply, After a strong person in the semi-god realm passes through the divine tribulation of heaven and earth, and successfully ignites the divine fire to transform his soul into a divine soul, he can step into the true god realm. Behind the true god realm are the heavenly god realm, the divine king realm, and the emperor realm. After hearing Xiao Chen's explanation, Lu Ruoxian, Zhong Li and others' pupils shrank, and then they couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Obviously not expecting it, Bo Ruoxi's cultivation is so terrifying. Several realms beyond the emperor realm. With such a being, just raising his hand and punching out could destroy the Kanglan realm, right? In comparison, they seemed a bit insignificant. You don't have to feel out of reach, either. It's just the realm of the divine king. If you want the future, I have a way to help you reach, or even surpass, the God King and become the God Emperor. Seeing Lu Ruoxian and others looking dazed, Xiao Chen waved his hands and said nonchalantly. The confidence revealed in his words made Lu Ruoxian and others tremble. Can they also become divine kings? Even the God Emperor? Anyone who says this will feel like they are bragging. But it came from Xiao Chen's mouth. But there is an unprecedented sense of convincingness, as if all this is natural, and they will not doubt the authenticity. But the Divine Lord and Divine Emperor are still a bit too far away for us at the moment. Urgent priority. We should improve our cultivation as much as possible first, and strive for all members to break through to the demigod realm as soon as possible, and then step into the god realm when the time is right in the future. When they saw Lu Ruoxian, Kaiyan and others, they all looked full of admiration. Xiao Chen said with a faint smile. Although now there is a strong man like Bo Ruoxi is the ultimate trump card. But the cultivation level of their group still cannot fall behind. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing and humiliating if even a small trouble could not be solved. Not to mention, in a world that can be watched by many forces in the divine domain, the secrets contained in it should not be that simple. He still couldn't be careless. This is the thought. Xiao Chen's eyes swept over Lu Ruoxian and others, and finally landed on Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi. Madams, I have something to discuss with the two of them. I wonder if you can step aside for a while. Looking at the two stunning women in front of him, Xiao Chen said in a low voice. This made Lu Ruoxian, Kaiyan and others look stunned. Immediately afterwards, it's like he understands something. He glanced at Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi strangely, with a meaningful smile on his face. You damn ghost, if you don't make it up to us in a few days, your life will not be so easy in the future. Finished. Kaiyan, Lu Ruoxian and others also knew how to behave and left the palace wisely, leaving Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi confused. Next moment, the two of them also realized something. His heart couldn't help but beat violently, and his expression became a little unnatural for a moment. 100%. Chapter 481. You should glare at him and then ask him again to let him know how powerful we are. Why did this guy keep the two of them? Could it be? No way, it's impossible. Isn't this too sudden? No mental preparation at all. However, this is not the point. The point is, why not just one person, but two people together? After all, they are also young girls, and they are not afraid of being overwhelmed by two people together. Even if you are not afraid, at least you have to consider whether they will be embarrassed. In just a few moments, after Xiao Chen said these words, Kaiyan and others left one after another. Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi's minds were instantly confused, and all kinds of messy thoughts spewed out like a tide. What do you want to do by leaving us here? After taking a deep breath to calm down, Zhong Li asked with a trembling voice. Although she had told Mu Xuanyi before, the two of them must create opportunities and find ways to capture Xiao Chen. But they are all talkative kings. After saying that, he still dared not take action in the past few days, obviously still unable to let go of his inner reserve. This situation now makes them feel a little unexpected. Nothing. I want you two to help me practice and strive to break through the 9th level of the Emperor as soon as possible. Seeing Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi's nervous expressions, Xiao Chen didn't mince words at this time, but answered straight to the point. What? Help you practice? Although they were prepared in their hearts, Zhong Li and Mu Xuanyi were still furious after hearing Xiao Chen's answer. He immediately stared at Xiao Chen with an indignant look. Master Xiao, what you mean by this is that you plan to use the two of us as a furnace. They are also two empresses after all. Instead of two statues of flesh. Two statues of furnace cauldron. Looking at the entire Kanglan world, the two of them are the dream goddesses of countless men. They long for an existence that they can't lick their toes a million times. This guy, how dare you say so bluntly that you want them to help each other practice? Is it a little too presumptuous and arrogant? If any other man dared to say such words, he would be torn into pieces by the two of them in minutes. However, when these words came out of Xiao Chen's mouth, although they would not be able to raise their swords, they still felt a little unhappy inside. How could I have such a thought? Seeing Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi's expressions of unacceptable expression, Xiao Chen just showed a faint smile and stared at Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi with burning eyes. You are all rare women in the world. You have stood at the top of the Kanglan world on your own. You have your own dignity and pride and the reserve of a woman. How can you be treated like a furnace? My suggestions may sound a bit abrupt, but I don't mean to offend or belittle you. What this really means is, I want you two to be my women, just like Kayan and the others. In the future, we will break through all the obstacles and reach the top of the clouds together. With that said, Xiao Chen took a step forward and stared at the two girls affectionately. I just don't know if you two are willing to accompany me to the top of the mountain. There wasn't much excitement in the tone, and it even seemed a little weird. But these seemingly inappropriate words seemed to contain some irresistible magic power when they reached the ears of Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi. The momentum of the two people quickly collapsed, and their faces even turned red in a rare way. His eyes were wandering and his heart was beating rapidly. Under Xiao Chen's true confession, the two empresses were completely defeated and almost wanted to run away. Aren't you two willing? Seeing Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi like this, Xiao Chen did not give the two women time to struggle, and opened his mouth again for the two empresses to answer. This made Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi feel like they were suffocating. Without any exaggeration, this is the first time in their lives that they have been so ambiguous with a man, and they are still in a state of inaction. Master Xiao, we have only known each other for less than 10 days, are we talking about this now? With his heart beating rapidly, Mu Xuanyi raised his head and said. But before she finished speaking, Xiao Chen raised his hand and pressed his lips, which made her body stiffen slightly. I am a monk. What matters is having clear thoughts and daring to love and hate. If you are willing, I will definitely live up to you in this life. If you don't want to, I won't bother you in this life. This is a two-way choice, and the decision is in your hands. It's just that I don't want to wait too long. Looking at Zhang Li and Mu Xuanyi, Xiao Chen said simply. This made Mu Xuanyi completely numb. The whole person was stunned and didn't know what to say. Ha ha ha, what a person who dares to love and hate, what a decision is in our hands. After provoking our emotions, he backhands the problem to us and leaves us with only a little time to think about it. My dear Mr. Xiao, you are indeed a scumbag. Just when Mu Xuanyi didn't know how to answer, Zhang Li chuckled and said with gritted teeth. You want to compete with the two of us in terms of courage, right? I will satisfy you today. Look at today's competition. Who is more powerful? Hearing Zhang Li's words, Xiao Chen was slightly startled. Obviously not expecting it. Zhang Li's reaction would be so big. As he spoke, he seemed to be quite resentful towards him. Could it be that he had been holding it in for too long? Even Mu Xuanyi looked confused. Obviously not expecting it. Zhang Li would agree so hastily. Are you stimulated? Or are you just following the trend and want to try something new right away? You stupid snake, why are you looking at me like this? You should glare at him and then circle him to let him know how powerful we are. Seeing Mu Xuanyi looking over in shock, Zhang Li blushed and cursed. This kind of look, there is no trace of the queen's demeanor at all. On the contrary, a witch who wanted to eat the forbidden fruit was so embarrassed that she broke her guard after being seen through. Only then would he put on airs to cheer himself up. And Mu Xuanyi, this arrogant and cold empress, was like a stupid goose at this time, her mind was already in a mess. I have no idea what to do next. Since you don't plan to leave, then, let's have a bloody contest. Let's see who is better, you two empresses, or me, the husband. Hear Zhang Li's words. Seeing that Mu Xuanyi did not leave, Xiao Chen acted decisively at this moment, laughed loudly, and hugged the two girls. Nurse Ning Rongrong was very happy to receive my forgiveness. She also wanted to become my exclusive nurse and accumulate more practical experience with me. She was really not afraid of causing trouble. Sister, how long do you think the ancestor and the demon queen can last? When Xiao Chen was in a hurry, Katie held her chin and glanced at the palace, then asked Kayan curiously. This sentence, I almost choked Kayan to death. Shut up. This is the 18th time I'm warning you, don't call her ancestor again. Under the same roof, we have to live in the same room and even sleep in the same bed. Are you ashamed to call me such a random name? Kai Yan didn't answer Kai Dai's retarded question. Kai Yan greeted her with a greeting that made Kai Dai's mouth pout. A special title with a fresh feel. You said this to your brother-in-law personally. I heard it clearly at the time, but now you blame me for calling you a random name. Even though I know this is bad, it still feels exciting every time. Her main theme is rebellion. If you don't let her bark now, she will bark in the future. You damn girl, you are really crazy. Hearing Kai Dai's words, Kai Yan burst into anger and grabbed the other person's ears. Kai Dai was so painful that she grimaced. It hurts, it hurts. Kaiyan, please don't go too far. If you don't let go, next time, I, my ancestor, and my brother-in-law will deal with you together. As these shocking words came out of her mouth, Kai Dai undoubtedly received another severe beating. Lu Ruoxian shook his head helplessly. They are truly a pair of precious sisters. 100%. Chapter 482. The Lord of Daoyan, the Great Terror deep underground in Kanglan Realm. This guy is really licentious. While Kai Yan and Kai Dai were bickering, they were in another secluded void. Bo Ruoxi glanced at the palace where Xiao Chen was. His expression fluctuated slightly. He obviously looks a bit extraordinary, but he is as lustful as a playboy. Could it be all men in the world like this? However, Bo Ruoxi didn't delve into it. She glanced at it and then looked away. After all, Xiao Chen is kind to her. It's not easy for her to interfere in the other person's private life. After withdrawing his gaze, Bo Ruoxi looked at the ground below again. A strange look flashed in her eyes. Hiding deep underground in this world. As this murmur fell, the terrifying soul perception was like a tide, spreading towards the depths of the earth in an instant. After realizing that there was a restriction in this world, Bo Ruoxi tried to find out the source. After some perception just now, there is nothing special about the rest of the world. Only deep in the core of this world, there seems to be a terrifying fluctuation. If she guessed correctly, this should be the source of the restriction in this area. In less than a few breaths, Bo Ruoxi's soul thought went hundreds of millions of miles underground, breaking through the blockades and obscurations of the laws of heaven and earth, and went directly to the core of the earth, the core of the Kanglan realm. Look around. This is a world of lava. The terrifying high temperature is enough to kill any emperor-level expert, and even the demigod-level expert cannot persist here. And besides the heat, the power of the world's laws condensed here is terrifying enough to make the true god, no, enough to threaten the divine king. Streams of bloody thunder continued to shuttle through the lava world. The power of law contained in each blood-red thunder is comparable to the thunder of divine punishment that Xiao Chen once summoned. I don't know how much more terrifying it is. This is enough power to kill gods. Even a strong man in the divine king realm cannot easily deal with these thunderbolts. And in the center, surrounded by thunder, an ancient bronze palace stood quietly, with divine patterns engraved all over its body. It seemed that once fully activated, it would be enough to burst out with the power of destroying the heaven and the earth. Shenzhen Dojo. Seeing this horrifying sight in front of her, Bo Ruoxi suddenly opened her eyes, and her sense of soul was instantly withdrawn by her. There was even a hint of fear on his face. Because in her perception, that mysterious ancient bronze temple turned out to be a divine monarch-level treasure. And judging from the divine pattern Dao rhyme that pervades it, the owner of this ancient bronze palace is probably no weaker than she was at her peak. Her current cultivation level has dropped to the divine king realm late stage. If she rashly explores this ruins and alerts the beings in the ancient bronze palace, she may also get into trouble. So, although Bo Ruoxi was a little curious, what exactly is hidden in this ancient bronze temple, but in the end I can only suppress my inner curiosity. Divine King. How did she enter the Kanglan realm? Just when Bo Ruoxi's soul was withdrawing, in the deepest part of the ancient bronze palace, an old man who looked like a mummy suddenly opened his eyes. A terrifying fluctuation in cultivation level filled the hall in an instant. This person. It was the immortal tomb guardian that Jun Aofeng and others wanted to force out. It's just that the fluctuations in cultivation level pervading the opponent's body at this time are many times more terrifying than they were 120,000 years ago. That kind of volatility, it has far surpassed the demigod realm, and is probably the true god realm, or the heavenly god realm, or even the divine king realm. Let the spiritual resentment of heaven and earth breed again, as long as this wave of spiritual resentment is absorbed. This demon body can achieve perfection. At that time, When the Tao Demon's two bodies are integrated union, I will not only be able to recover from all my injuries, but I will even be able to return to my peak condition. It is possible to break the shackles and step into the God Emperor realm. Feeling the changes between heaven and earth, the ancestor smiled solemnly. That's right. This so-called immortal tomb keeper is the Tao Seal God who left behind a legacy. More than 128,000 years ago, he unexpectedly met a severely wounded God Emperor, and the other party was a pure Yin Empress. In order to have a chance to break through to the Emperor realm, a crazy idea came to his mind. That is to nourish the other party, take advantage of the other party's severe damage, and drain the other party's essence. But he still underestimated the terror of the powerful God Emperor. Even when he was poisoned and severely injured, the opponent could still explode into the peak combat power of the God Emperor. That battle, not only was his physical body shattered, but his soul was also severely damaged. If he hadn't used the secret method to escape from that star realm in the end, he would probably have been killed by the Empress. Later, in order to avoid being chased by that God Emperor, he did not hesitate to cross several star domains to reach Kanglan realm. Integrate 30% of his own flesh and blood into the ancient bronze coffin, forming a heaven and earth restriction that completely seals the Kanglan realm. The other 50% is flesh and blood. He used secret techniques to smelt it into a demon fetus and sealed it in this ancient bronze temple. Just this devil fetus, in addition to being fed with various divine level materials, it also needs the stimulation of the resentment of all living beings to revive it, so that the potential of this demon body can be reached to the extreme. So, more than 120,000 years ago, after he came to this world, he laid a plan. Deliberately letting the projection of the ancient bronze palace appear in Kanglan realm, and claiming that whoever can get the bronze secret key to the Tao seal, there will be a chance to obtain his inheritance. Then it was just as he expected. The surrounding divine level forces who were alarmed went crazy, trying every means to enter this world. However, in the face of the restrictions he placed, many divine kings were unable to break through. And at the time, his body was seriously injured due to his vitality, and after the remaining flesh and blood was reorganized, his cultivation level even dropped to the demigod level. We simply don't dare to let any powerful person in the divine realm enter this world. But the good thing is, after he deliberately let out a flaw, the 18th divine king was no fool. He actually thought of letting the soul of a powerful person from the true God realm come to him. Integrated union. The creatures of the Kanglan world became divine descendants, established a base in this world, and searched for the so-called secret key unscrupulously. Unfortunately, under his teasing, the first batch of descendants could not find a true inheritance at all, and could only continue to cause fights in the Kanglan world. After realizing that the spiritual resentment of all living beings played a great role in the birth of the demon body, the Lord Daoyan used all living beings as pawns to play tricks with these divine descendants. He even trained several sons of luck as tomb guardians to compete with these divine descendants. Thus, not only will the sentient beings in the Kanglan realm not see hope, but they will become numb and surrender to the lustful power of the descendants of the gods, causing hatred to disappear and the root of their resentment to be lost. He can also cleverly eliminate these strong foreigners without exposing himself. After, many divine kings raged and attacked the restrictions of heaven and earth. However, the ban is at its peak, and they cannot shake it at all. In the end, many divine kings had no choice but to give up. However, based on the few flaws he left behind, it was deduced that this formation could only last for 120,000 years, and many forces agreed to come back after 120,000 years. And the Daoyan Shenzhen also fell into a deep sleep. Now 120,000 years have passed. With the help of some treasures from the past, his body cultivation level returned to the divine king state, and the demon body was almost completed. There is only one last baptism of spiritual resentment left. He can then integrated union the Taoist and demonic bodies, and return to the peak of the divine Lord realm. 100%. Chapter 483. The awareness of many divine kings and the sudden change in Kanglan realm. What exactly went wrong? Why is there a divine king in Kanglan realm? As various thoughts flashed through his mind, Lord Dao Yin frowned slightly. While he was sleeping, the Kanglan realm has obviously been completely sealed off. Even a powerful person in the Divine Lord realm would not be able to easily enter the great formation of heaven and earth formed with the Tao Seal Temple as the base. But after he recovered, there was actually a powerful man in the Divine King realm who came in without anyone noticing. This made Lord Daoyan feel an ominous premonition in his heart. With a sinking feeling in my heart, The Tao seal divine lord formed a seal in his hand, and his soul sensed it into the heaven and earth formation, instantly spying on the situation outside the Kanglan world. 18 powerful divine kings, and the altar of divine descending instantly came into his mind. No one is missing. Looking at these 18 divine kings, they are still the same 18 divine kings from 120,000 years ago, but the fluctuations in their cultivation have become stronger. This made Lord Daoyan's heart sink. Obviously not expecting it. This divine king who entered the Kanglan realm was not the strong man from 120,000 years ago. Is it possible? Are these guys looking for help? But with the divine king entering it, he is fully capable of cooperating inside and outside, and forcibly breaks through this restriction of heaven and earth. But these people are still causing massacres and causing resentment between heaven and earth. Could it be that they are not in the same group? After pondering for a while, the Lord Daoyan withdrew his soul sense and did not go to trouble Bo Ruoxi. There are still 3 days left. His demonic body can be conceived, and he can be baptized and revived by the resentment of heaven and earth. Before that, as long as the other party didn't come to trouble him, he wouldn't be stupid enough to provoke Bo Ruoxi. As the thought falls, Daoyan Shenjin slowly closed his eyes, and the Daoyan temple fell into deathly silence. Only in a black gold coffin in the main hall, a dull heartbeat could be heard constantly, and the frequency was also accelerating. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The entire Kanglan world has undergone earth-shaking changes. There are scenes of mountains of corpses, seas of blood and resentment everywhere. The sky is even shrouded in a layer of black clouds. Under the wrong guidance of Lord Daoyan, Ji Mengju and others went completely crazy. Continuously massacre the creatures in Kanglan realm, creating more resentment between heaven and earth. This makes the creatures in Kanglan realm. In just a few days, most of them died. Except for a few powerful forces, the territories of other forces have become purgatory. However, the remaining divine descendants did not have any joy on their faces. Instead, he looked gloomy. Because they discovered that no matter how the resentment of sentient beings increased, the restrictions of heaven and earth were not weakened. This made them suspicious. Is the information the divine kings gave them false? The grudges of heaven and earth have no effect on the ban at all. Not only were the many divine descendants aware of the anomaly, but even the 18 divine kings outside the territory felt something was wrong at this moment. Everyone stared at the void restriction with furrowed brows. Everyone, do you feel that this restriction of heaven and earth has not only not been weakened, but has actually become stronger? In a dead atmosphere, the divine king of the Jun family stared at this restriction and suddenly asked the others. This made many divine kings look stunned. Haha, it turns out that brother Jun also feels the same way. I thought I had an illusion. Just after the divine king of the Jun family spoke, Yi Chen, the divine king of the Yi family, echoed. 120,000 years ago. This restriction of heaven and earth fluctuates due to the spiritual resentment of all living beings. We don't know whether it is fluctuating due to instability, or whether the restriction is absorbing spiritual resentment and causing fluctuations. If it's the former, the power of this restriction should have weakened after 120,000 years. But now this thing is not weak at all. It's even stronger than it was 120,000 years ago. After hearing what Yi Chen said, many divine kings looked gloomy. Each and every one of them couldn't help but feel the restrictions of heaven and earth. I feel that this restriction is exactly what Yi Chen said, no weaker than 120,000 years ago, or even stronger than 120,000 years ago. The numerous divine kings looked like they were eating shit, and each one looked more miserable than the last. Is it possible that they have been misled for so many years? Since the resentment of heaven and earth cannot weaken the restriction, it seems that we can only attack by force. Seeing the changes in the expressions of many divine kings, Yi Chen spoke in confusion at this moment. And this time, the angel divine king who had mocked him before did not mock him at this moment, but nodded in agreement. What Yi Chen divine king said is not unreasonable. Perhaps we were really misled by the ban 120,000 years ago. Looking at the situation now, we can only attack by force. Haha, before our divine child was eliminated, you were the first one to jump out and refute. Now that divine child has been eliminated, you are the first one to express your approval. You are really good at changing your face. Just before the angel divine king finished speaking, the divine king of the Phoenix tribe suddenly sneered at this moment. The atmosphere instantly became weird. You want a fight? After being mocked by the divine king of the Phoenix clan, the divine king of the angel clan replied domineeringly. But just as he said these words, a terrifying energy burst out from his body. A sudden roar broke out in the void, which caused the expressions of all the divine kings to change. I thought another divine descendant was eliminated. But follow your eyes and look over. It was then discovered that the void restriction outside the Kanglan realm was shaking for the first time at this moment. The violent turmoil caused the Kanglan realm to tremble. The pupils of the 18 divine kings suddenly shrank. This restriction is unstable. Just now we were discussing that this restriction was as stable as an old dog, but I didn't expect that the words would become unstable as soon as I finished speaking. Isn't this too coincidental? Good chance. While the formation is fluctuating now, let's attack it together. After being stunned for a moment, the divine king of the Jun family shouted violently, and his cultivation exploded. The golden light shines in the void like a terrifying sun. Wait, the situation is unclear now, we can't take action. Seeing that the divine king of the Jun family wanted to take action, the divine king of the Phoenix clan immediately shouted violently, and his cultivation exploded at this time. The terrifying divine power filled the starry sky, causing the expressions of everyone around to change. Stop. Who gave you permission to do this? Just when the two divine kings were about to fight, the Kang dragon race divine king's words exploded like thunder, and the terrifying dragon power made the two divine kings freeze. After all, this is the strongest person among many in the divine king realm. If you fight alone, among the other 17 divine kings present, no one was sure they could defeat Ao Lai. Look, it seems like something is about to appear in Kanglan realm. Also at this time, the divine king of the Ji family locked his eyes on Kanglan realm and shouted to the other divine kings in a low voice. These two sentences. In an instant, all the divine kings looked into Kanglan realm, and their pupils couldn't help but shrink at this moment. I saw it within the confines of the void. The resentment of all living beings that originally filled the space between heaven and earth is pouring crazily into the earth somewhere like a funnel. The vast ocean between the eastern domain and the central domain formed a thousands-mile whirlpool at this moment. The terrifying impact caused strong tremors in both the eastern domain and the central domain. And as the spiritual grievances of heaven and earth rolled back, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth also swarmed away, blowing up a terrifying storm in the void. Everything over the boundary sea collapsed. That kind of terrifying impact is enough to seriously injure or obliterate a powerful person in the Emperor realm. Such a terrifying movement. This caused many creatures in the eastern domain and the central domain to raise their heads and look towards the direction of the boundary sea. Obviously they don't understand what happened.